the cold breeze, steel boots on the sand, no ease. Propellers hum the Soviet quest, but the island ain't weak, not less. Hot tanks roaring loud and clear, zombie hula girls, no fear. Tiki terrors rise, eyes ablaze, Soviets drown in the island haze. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. Hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls' hearts won't break. Under moonlight chants they clash, steel meets flame, bones will thrash. Cold War's heat, the island's grip, Tiki rage will never slip. Drums beat, wild waves take hold, Soviet shiver, hearts turn cold. In the depths of night they fail, Tiki terror's ancient tale. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. Hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls' hearts won't break. Hearts won't break.
Howdy, it's your old pal, Tiki the Hut. Thanks for joining me again on another Too Late Tonight with Tiki. Hey, Matthew, what's going on? Bad Rabbit, Evolution, Scott the Bot. Hey, what a bunch of cool cats. What do you got? What a bunch of guys like you doing in a place like this, huh? Glad to have you guys. I am in a mad rush. I put off painting these guys for so long, and my Fall of Berlin game is this Sunday, so I'm like, ah, shit. Hey, Bonsai Nathan, thanks for joining me, buddy. For these guys who don't know, I always give Nathan shit as an XCOM fan. He finally tried the Bureau XCOM Declassified. He tried it on, I think it was like the hardest difficulty. I tried to warn him not to, but that was brutal to watch. It's a fun game, but it can be a bit brutal. Hey, Squiggle Sean, what's going on, buddy? Hope you like seeing some poorly painted models. That is my specialty. So, because I'm trying to paint fast, I will be painting off camera. But you guys can see, you know, the progress I make as I kind of like stack all these models up. So the Jeeps, I believe, are just about done. I think I got to go back and finish the Thompson machine guns on some of the guys. There we go. Yeah, I got to go back and finish Thompson machine gun on the Jeeps. So the trucks I got to go back. I just got a new pot of black. So I gotta finish the tires and finish the machine guns on all the trucks and the windshield wipers. And then I gotta finish all the MP troops. There's a bunch. A lot of them are off camera. I'm just batch painting all, is it 30? I think it's 30 of these guys. So, I'm going to paint them to the best of my ability, which isn't saying much, but try and get them as well painted as I can for the event on Sunday. I had a lot of things going on. I just kept putting it off on the back burner, then I was like, ah, shit, it's coming up. You also hear me sipping my coffee. But also, if you, those of you who do follow Morning Glory knows, he's here stateside, and he's doing a meetup on the night of the 18th. And I'll actually just be finishing my Bolt Action event, and I'm close enough, so I'll actually be driving over there for the meetup event, which is pretty cool. So, those of you in the great state of Florida who are going to that meetup event, I'll definitely be there. Nice. Scott, I'm about to say, I don't think it's too far of a drive to Nottingham, but I hope it's a safe travel for you. That's awesome that you're helping with the board, though. But yes, I have been painting a lot trying to get all these guys good to go. What's cool is all these troops, every single one of them either has an SMG or a BAR. It's actually kind of a fun list. But it was made before the new armies of the Americas, so it's definitely an outdated list. It won't fly anymore. And I built the majority of these models, with the exception of a few. Like I think this is an airborne bazooka. But I built the majority of these models with the Ranger box, 30-man Ranger box, the one that has all the character poses from Saving Private Ryan. I added toothpicks cut up for batons, and I added pistols to as many of the models as I could, kind of make them look like MPs. Scott, super easy, man. You let me know when's a good time for you, and I'll trip on down to Miami and take you out to get some chow or something, man. Too easy. It's super easy for me to get down there. As long as you don't try and like kidnap me or kill me or like flinch me and try and wear my pajamas as like size 3XL, or try and wear my skin as size 3XL pajamas, I think will be good. Yeah, just recently, Doc Ginger came down and visited, and we actually got in a really fun, small 500-point game of Bolt Action 3rd Edition in IJ versus IJ, and it was an absolute blast, man. Yeah, Squigger and Sean, I'm telling you, that's what the zebra print's for. Nothing says Miami like zebra print. I'm telling you. Because the thing about zebra print is the cocaine blends in. Right now all I'm doing is just trying to paint these guys as quick as possible. I'm just doing batch painting. Right now I'm working on wall flesh. This poor paint pot's seen better days too. Wall flesh, just hitting them with their helmets and their pants. I'm gonna go back and I think next I'll probably do the skin. Sean, that reminds me of what is that? The Nice Guys, where Will Ferrell was a pimp named Gator. He has gold tooth. get it needs its get. But man, in Miami for a month, Scott, that's a significant length of time, man. You may go native. Who knows? You may become one of us terrible, treasonous former colonists. Actually, so Bad Rabbit. I'm actually. It sounds kind of shitty to say. What's the term? I think it's Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. I'm not sure the technical term, so I apologize if I mispronounce it to the German viewers. But it's actually interesting and happy to see someone other than Japan get hit with a Nerf bat. I was actually kind of happy that they altered the rule for artillery for the British, and the reason being is the Americans get 2 airstrikes, but they're subject to flak, and flak is very powerful in 3rd edition, right? But the British, they can get 2 artillery call-ins, but there's nothing you can do against artillery, you know? So I'm kind of glad they balanced that out a little bit. But I feel like the Italian rules for the core rulebook were almost like a trial period for the new British rules coming out. Oh, Scott, this may interest you. Feel free to hit me offline. But you may or may not know this, but Mrs. Tiki, she's a professor of aviation at a college, and I work hopefully soon as an adjunct professor. But right now I'm just a volunteer. But I work in the aviation department as well. I mean, I focus more because we do unmanned systems, so I focus more on maritime operations. But I still have to grab some of my own FAA licenses. So. Yeah, if you have any questions about aviation in Florida, man, let me know. Hey, thanks, Quick Under Sean, brother. I super appreciate it. I super appreciate it, Sean. Don't worry, I'm gonna catch you on the back end. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like the British chin dent rules. I thought their chin dent rules were really cool about the ambush and stuff like that. I think it's really neat. All I'm hoping for is I'm hoping they greatly reduce the ability of people to take Gurkhas. I have nothing against Gurkhas. I think Gurkhas are cool. They really are. But I think they need to be taken only if your army is, you know, well, they were technically part of the chin dents. That's kind of weird. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I think that rule definitely needs rework. But, I don't know. It's just me. It's hard for me to say because by the time they get to Japan, who knows what the rules are going to be. But I think it's easy to say, and it's not just me being biased, but at the start of 3rd edition, I feel like Empire Japan got the biggest nerf. So, seeing all these new rules come out, the rules for Germany were crazy strong. The rules for Americans were like, eh. I feel the rules for the British are actually kind of balanced. So now I've seen all 3. I've seen really good, I've seen man, I've seen balance. So I'm actually terrified what the hell. Well, yeah, the Gurkhas are going to the Commonwealth book. As I said, it's interesting to see what's going to happen to the Gurkhas. I mean, technically, Nathan, if you think about it, Fat Man and Little Boy were technically just really big Nerf bats. Yeah, sure. We'll do, Tom. I'll tell MG you said hi. I'm seeing him. It's not just me. He invited a lot of his community to come out and do a meet and greet on the 18th at night. So I'll drive over there. It's gonna be a fun-filled day with me. You know, Bolt Action Fall of Berlin by day and hanging out with MG at night. It's gonna be a fun day. Well, it's tough. So to be fair, and I know I'm fence sitting. I can feel the splinters in my ass, but I don't want IGA to get super buffed. But at the same point in time, I don't want them to get nerfed either. Like I'm happy them staying where they are. I think the bonsai rule kind of sucks. To be fair, for like lunge mines, I'd have some recommendations on how to fix lunge mines. But I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun being an Imperial Japanese player. It's the hipster in me, right? So it's you know, you can hear like the Lumineer song "Hey Ho" music in the background, right? But it's kind of fun being an IJ player while they're not OP, you know, while they're not like crazy overpowered or anything like that, because I'm playing the faction for the love of the play of the faction. Same thing with other Imperial Japanese players you see. They're people who just generally like collecting and painting Imperial Japanese models or playing them. So it's kind of like the Codex creep, you know, where I'm sure you've seen it Warhammer 40k where it's like every 2 weeks or every month, like, oh, I've always been a Blood Angels fan. What are you talking about? And like next week they're like, oh, next update, they're like, I've always been a Necrons fan. You're like, okay. So I just don't want them to get super overpowered and have a whole bunch of people suddenly swap over to playing Imperial Japanese. So no, we actually have not hung out yet. I thought it was actually really, so that funny picture came up. Squid Gunner Sean actually was the one who came up with the original idea for that photo. Then someone else found an even better picture of Morty and put it on there, and it was hysterical. But we'll be on the 18th. Like I said, we're all doing a big meetup on the 18th, which is pretty cool. If you live in Florida, definitely recommend swinging out. That poor guy needed a vacation. I don't know how he streams all the time like that. That's maintains all his videos 3 weeks ahead. Fuck that. Even with an editor, no way in hell. Very impressive. But that's probably why it's his full-time job. Makes sense. He's over here I'm working on these guys. I'm painting them off stream just so I can paint them a little bit faster. So I know the visual content isn't as good. I apologize, but I'm definitely under the gun. And you have these guys ready for a game on the 18th. Yeah. I definitely waited till the last minute. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with the Russians. Like I said, and again, I don't work there, but I would assume that the two most popular factions would be to collect for bolt action would be Germans and probably Soviets, with British falling close behind. Alright, so I just counted. It's 32 infantry. So it's 30 infantry plus the two-man bazooka team. So, yeah, 32 infantry, 5 jeeps, 6 trucks. Not bad. It's a fun little list. And because I needed to be at 1,500 points per the event, so... and I already hit the dice cap. You know, everyone's just veterans. Like, everything is a veteran. Oh yeah, look at that brand new pot of paint. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Opening the seal. Oh yeah. Nothing like a fresh pot of paint. And it's Citadel paint too. That's, in case you guys didn't know, that's actually Squig Hunter Sean's favorite brand of paint is Citadel. He's actually a huge fan. So has anyone else done a Fall of Berlin game before? I'm actually pretty excited. I haven't done like a large scale bolt action event yet. So I mean, I've had to fill in last minute at a tournament. You know, check that box. Won't be doing that again unless they need someone just to round out the numbers. It was fun. Everyone's nice, just not my scene. I've done like 2v2 events, but I haven't done anything bigger than that, so I'm pretty excited. Now, I'd be much happier, if they ever need, I'd be very happy to be a, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough, to be fair, but I think I'd be much happier being a TO for a competitive event. Alright, so I gotta finish the machine guns on the trucks, finish the tires, and finish the windshield wipers, and the trucks will be done. I've already done all the windows. Then once that's done, do the skin tone on the troops, then do their boots, then do the wood on all the weapons, then the black on all the weapons, and then base everything, paint the objectives, and there's time, paint their web gear. That's not bad, I can do that one day. We can do this. Next time I'm gonna pay for you is gonna be inspired by Ted. Oh. So what's everybody else working on? Anybody else painting? Or building? I do much rather wish I was building, kit bashing some more exploits right now. I do love bolt action, but I've always considered... I mean, painting's still fun, because it's a way for me customizing my units, you know, but I think painting's, for me, is 100% attacks. But if these things came pre-painted, I feel like I wasn't getting as much value. With the exception of terrain, that's one thing I do like. I do enjoy pre-painted terrain. Pre-painted models, not so much. Anti-tank hap track, nice. Yeah, GSC seems like a good fit as far as building and painting for you. Let's go to Sean, like looking at your like Voltan and how you did the orcs. I feel like cyberpunk slash like mining colony is like a really good. I don't know. It seems like that's a really good painting vibe for you. You know what I mean? Like the industrial mining thing. I don't know. I think I'm not conveying it very well. But and I can just definitely see you building and painting them. I know they're gonna look good. What was that? Anyone remember what that game was called? I want to say it was by the people who did Saints Row before they fucked it all up. Was it Red Dawn? Was that what it was called? The guerrilla war thing in Mars, where you're like a Mars miner. Hey, Sirkov's boots. How you doing, buddy? I am getting some American MPs ready for the fall of Berlin. I'm assuming you and your compatriots will be on the other side of the river there, trying to take the city. Nostrovia, and welcome to the stream, buddy. Red Faction. Thank you, Bad Rabbit. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Red Faction, yeah. So if you haven't seen Squig Hunter Sean, like the way he does his space doors, his Votan and stuff of that nature, he has a really good Red Faction style vibe. Ooh, that's actually a good one. Hey, hey Sean, when was the last time you saw Ghost of Mars? It actually has like some GSC 440k vibes to that. Kind of like how Event Horizon is like feels like a prequel to 40k. You haven't seen Ghost of Mars in a while. Like it has like female commissars in it. It's actually really cool. What? Scott, I didn't know that. So that was always my big critique with World of Flames is I didn't feel like there's a lot of Pacific stuff, but ooh man, they're starting to do a 15mm. Ooh man. Yeah, I highly recommend yeah, it's one of those like cheesy, terrible but good sci-fi movies. I love, because I totally forgot about it. I want to watch it again. The female commissars were awesome. But yeah, I definitely recommend putting it on the background while you're working on your GSC guys for some inspiration, man. They're super cool. I just remember it because it's like that one time the you know how like they take like camouflage and make like stupid camouflage like purple and red and orange out of it, you know? It's like the one time that orange or red style of woodland camo actually worked. I don't know. I think like everybody else, I think I'd worry about how well I can paint 15mm. I mean, I suck at 28mm. I don't know how bad I'd be at 15mm. I may give it a shot. Ooh, Zerkov. Spicy take. Did John Carpenter not do The Thing? Because I think The Thing might be, in my opinion, one of his best works. And also, a wildly underappreciated game. If you guys never played The Thing video game, it picks up right where the movie leaves off. It's actually it was really good, but super ahead of its time. The way its morale and squad mechanic works, it's kind of like, almost like, it felt a little like third-person Half-Life-ish, you know? And it kind of like opposing force the way like the squad system works. I think they just recently did a remake of the game actually, so you might be able to pick it up now. Well, I'm not saying I disagree, Zukov, but yeah, that game was super ahead of its time. The only thing I wish, and I think at the time they didn't have the programming for it, but I wish, not to ruin it for you guys, but the game has like checkpoint systems, you know, kind of thing. But I wish the blood test actually worked the way it was supposed to work, like in the movies. I wish it worked in the game, you know. But it's good. Yeah, the game low crawled through the snow and broken glass, so games like Dead Space could run, you know. Speaking of older video games, I just finished my book series that I've been reading, so I needed like until I find a new series of books to start reading. I'm looking for a video game. I was like, why can't I play that single player and find I played Fallout like bajillion times. Like, all right, I need something that's not Fallout, you know. So then I realized I never finished Mass Effect. I stopped Mass Effect. I want to say maybe about 1/3 of the way through the second game. So now I'm going back and playing all 3 Mass Effects. Doing a full Renegade playthrough and everything. It's absolutely fun. Can't believe I never finished that trilogy. No, I never got into the Witcher games. I don't know why. I think around when those came out, I had just recently gotten married. You know, same wife, obviously. But, so I think like my video gaming time was on a decline because I worked a lot, and then my off-duty time she'd want to hang out. She only just now got into video games, so I think now she gets it. You know, so thank God for the combination of Baldur's Gate 3 and Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, I know I always make the joke about being a hipster, but I'm starting to realize I really do have like hipster taste in like video games and stuff like that. So all of these like older games I think are really good. Some people are like, it's alright. Like, what are some of my oh yeah, a really good one. No one plays Tom Clancy's In War. I think I talked about that on the stream before. It's a RTS, but the cameras are linked to your units, and it can be all voice controlled. Oh, it's a super good RTS. Really good. As long as you don't want it to be something it's not. As long as you understand it's not Command and Conquer, you know? It's not World in Conflict. You know, it's not War Game Red Dragon. You know, as long as you understand the limitations of the game, it's really good. And if you're a huge fan of all the Tom Clancy books and video games, like all the characters make cameos in that game. Everyone. Everyone from Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, and this is all like earlier stuff, long before like the shitty online games, you know. So, like classic style. Hawks, you know, all those old games, all the characters from those make a thing. Like a Milton gun hipster. It's true. It's so funny how true that is. Like when I finally sat down to get a Glock after like years of carrying revolvers and stuff like that, you know, I'm like, you know what, let me actually get a Glock. And when it finally comes time to get a Glock, leave it to me to get like one of the most obscure Glocks that's so hard to find like parts or anything for. You know, every time you find something like, oh, hey, this will be cool, like, not made for this Glock. I'm like, son of a bitch. So another good game, crazy. If you guys, it goes on sale every now and then. It doesn't ever really go on crazy sale. Like I said, I've never seen it dip below 20 bucks, and that's just because it's Activision. But I cannot tell you how much I highly recommend it, only for the single player. But Infinite Warfare, so Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. As far as single player, probably one of the. Me personally, I think it's better than Titanfall 2, but I get a lot of pushback on that. I think they're both really good, and they came out around the same time. Titanfall 2 has a good campaign, but Infinite Warfare's campaign is just absolutely solid. You know, you have good gunfire on the ground. You have it's very similar. I think the best comparison to that is if you liked Halo Reach, particularly Halo Reach, you will like Infinite Warfare. Very kind of a similar thing, especially, you know, there's you know, space fighting segments, like where you get a void craft, like a space fighter, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of zero-G fighting inside and outside of ships and stuff like that. I don't know. I like Ding Chavez. I'm a Chavez guy, Rabbit, but I see where people like John Clark. So I will tell you one of the coolest things, because it doesn't ruin any of the story. One of the coolest things about Infinite Warfare is, you know, you get to, first off, you get to pick what missions you want to go to. Like, as I was playing Mass Effect, it just made me miss Infinite Warfare. I was like, oh man, you know, it's very similar. You basically, you end up with a ship, you know, and you can see your ship upgrade, you know, you can see your crew change and stuff like that. You actually get attached to your crew pretty well. But when you pick what mission you go to, which is kind of neat because they unlock certain benefits, you know, you can pick primary missions or secondary missions, but you also get to pick your loadout, which is really cool. So there's like a virtual reality gun range on the ship, so you can test all your weapons, you can put attachment on your weapons, and before you go into each mission, even though it's a COD game, a Call of Duty game, before you go into each mission, you get to pick your loadout. Not just what you're carrying, but you also get to pick like what your space fighter, you know, you get to pick what weapons are on your space fighter as well, which is super important. Like if you're doing, you know, close air support run before you do like a ground insertion, you'll want one type of gun versus, you know, if you're doing full on, you know, fleet on fleet contact and you're going up against like some bigger ships, like some picket ships, you know, like some cutters or some corvettes, you're gonna want like heavier guns. It's pretty cool. Bad Rabbit, I got have you ever read Vortex or Red Phoenix? I think it's by Larry Bonds. Those are actually really good. I just recently I'm about to start reading Vortex. Vortex is really good. It's about an alternate war. I want to say late 80s, early 90s maybe, in South Africa. Really good. It talks about what modern day nuclear warfare would look like. You know, most of Africa is going against South Africa, and the Cubans are joining in, so they're fighting back, and it leads to nuclear weapon utilization, so America steps in. It is super cool. It's a super cool read. Red Phoenix is good. It's like a 1990s alternate take on what a second Korean War would look like. It's actually really good. But no, I think the zero gravity combat and Infinite Warfare was really, really good. Larry Bond, common spelling, Lima Alpha Romeo Romeo Yankee space Bravo Oscar November Delta. I think he made a second Red Phoenix books too. I haven't read it yet though. I've met some people. I think this game is actually more popular than it used to be. I think it's not available. I think I found out from you guys that it's not available for music copyright reasons. But Spec Ops: The Line is an absolute classic. I think I heard it from the chat, so I'm not sure how valid it is. Not that I don't trust you guys, but it sounds right. But it's all about the Jimi Hendrix copyright. That's why it's not as available. Speaking of shotguns, Squig Hunter Sean, in my youth, one of my dreams is, like everybody else, I wanted to get like my class dream, become a firearms manufacturer. What I wanted to do, particularly here in the state of Florida, I'm sure Bafty's listening, is I wanted to start a company making cane shotguns. Particularly to protect wounded veterans and elderly. That way they're not subject to, Grand Theft Autos or muggings on the street or anything like that. A single shot, breech loaded cane shotgun. Like 410s. I got the idea from looking at, I think there was a few 410 or smaller 20 gauge shotgun canes in England. Well, I got another good one for you. So we're talking about this because we're talking about movies. I was actually talking to my own family. One of my brothers had never seen Kelly's Heroes. Kelly's Heroes is an absolute classic movie. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Oddball, huge influence, right? So Kelly's Heroes influenced another good movie called Three Kings. Three Kings is an absolutely amazing movie, right? And Three Kings inspired one of my favorite video games, Bad Company. Battlefield Bad Company, man. That was a great... Talk about a good campaign, good story. Man, that was great. Yeah. Squig Hunter Sean, yeah, it's basically like a bang stick for sharks. Oh yeah, and by the way, that is one thing I told myself I was gonna do in the military that I got from Three Kings, and I ended up doing it, and I loved it. And that was riding around as a gunner on a Humvee, and I also did a bunch of other stuff too, listening to "I Get Around" by the Beach Boys. It is absolutely as cool as it feels. Kind of like how the whole, once you see some stuff in movies, it becomes kind of iconic. That is something I highly recommend. If you are still in the military, you gotta do it at least once. If you're a turret gunner to start playing "I Get Around" by the Beach Boys, man, it is the way to go. It was one of my go-to songs I used to play through the PA system on my Mat V when I was in Afghanistan. It's always a lot of fun. Because our Mat Vs didn't have any distinguishing marks on the outside; they were just, coyote tan. And so when you're rolling up to a post, the guys and girls in the gate check have no idea if this is just one of their mobile fire patrols coming in to heat up a meal, or if it's their area supervisor, or if it's the flight chief, or some other DV or something like that. So me and my co-host, or I say co-host, me and my co-area supervisor, one of us took the north flight line, one of us took the south part of the flight line. So we used to just we have almost like wrestling, where you have entrance music. We used to have songs we'd play from the PA system as we pulled up on a post, that way they know who's in the truck. And that was always mine, was "I Get Around." Yeah, but Bad Company, man. Bad Company was a class. Honestly, if you have it, I recommend downloading it and playing Bad Company, but get your best headphones and crank that volume up all the way. I think Bad Company, kind of like the movie Heat, Bad Company has some of the best gunfire audio sounds I think I've heard in a long time. They did a great job getting the sound effects for that game. Sergeant Bilko, yep. Pauly Shore in the army now. Yeah, they don't make military humor movies that much anymore. Have you noticed that? Like, it's all gotten super serious. Like, so another Spice Steak, another good movie out there. If you haven't seen this, granted, I'm a big fan of Kelsey Grammer. I'm a big fan of the actor. I just like his work, right? Because I grew up watching Frasier a lot. But Periscope Down is absolutely hysterical. A really funny movie. If you haven't seen that, that is a classic. But yeah, so talking about older games, I was playing Mass Effect, and I was like, holy shit. Like, when I was younger, I was like, oh, this game's good, you know, the writing's good, but going back on it, comparing it to like modern day video games, I'm like, holy shit, this writing is like next level. Like, damn. Just look at what they did with like an older game, older technology. Especially the first one. Yeah, Pentagon Wars is a classic, yep. It's amazing how far the Bradleys come. So I got another movie. A lot of people don't like this movie. It's first off, it's not a realistic military movie. Not at all, right? Take realism and chunk it out the window. And the way it portrays, you know, like gunfire and stuff like that, it's also crazy and dumb. So I understand that. But I think it's called Basic. Yeah, Basic with oh god, what's his name? Oh, shit, I cannot think of his name. John Travolta. So Basic is really, really entertaining. It's not a very accurate. It's not like Black Hawk Down or Warfare. It's not like super accurate, but it is super fun to watch. Legend of the Dragoon. I think I kind of remember that. Did it have like another name to it or something like that? I maybe think of something else. Dragoon. Like, oh, I'm thinking of like Panzer Dragoon, I think. Yep, Bad Rabbit. Yep, that's the movie. It's really enjoyable. It's kind of like I'm not saying it's like super accurate or it portrays like realistic stuff. But it is super fun to watch. Hey, what's going on, CB Cooper? We're actually talking about old nostalgic video games and movies. Underappreciated gems. Spies Like Us, the Tiki biopic. Nice. I'm painting off camera just so it goes a little bit faster. I know it's not as fun to watch. I apologize, but I'm basically, you know, last minute sheer terror inspiration. I think my favorite line, Bad Rabbit, was the how about them Yankees when she decks him with the phone book. Oh god. But yeah, I think I was talking about Squig and Rashawn was talking about how he's working on some GSC. And I was talking about his paint style, particularly with his like Votan and some of this painted terrain. And I think he has a really good style, like sci-fi minor like aesthetic. And I was trying to think, what was the name of those games, and someone told me it was Red Faction, and it got us talking about older video games. That's a good. I said it's worth a rewatch, Bad Rabbit. You gotta tell the story right, Another one of my guilty pleasures. Again, it's no John Wick, but I think it's a lot more humorous. Clearly, John Wick's not a very funny movie. If you've never seen From Paris with Love, oh man, absolute classic. I don't know if it's supposed to be that funny. I laugh at the whole thing. Like, there's some really good lines. Like, some really, really good one-liners in that movie, but I found the whole thing hilarious. I think, to me, that's one of John Travolta's best works, because I always like him as a bad guy. You go back to, like, Broken Arrow and stuff like that. I think he's a really good bad guy, but I think this was, like, his perfect role, because he got to be a mix of a bad guy and special agent. Oh, he was hysterical. I don't think I've seen someone have so much fun with a role before. Yeah, Hot Fuzz is another good one. I recently just watched all three. Oh shit, what are those movies called? Damn it, man, my memory's terrible today. I think it's because I'm stressed. Not stressed, but worried about this painting. What are the buddy cop movies with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker called? I'm trying to think. We just watched all three of them, and they're phenomenal. Rush Hour. Yep, thank you. Rush Hour. Yeah. Rush Hour, all three of them aged very well. Those are absolutely still hysterical. I'll say, because that's kind of what From Paris with Love reminded me of. It's almost like a French flavored Rush Hour, if that makes sense. Yeah, if you haven't seen From Paris with Love, I highly recommend it. That's some of the best one-liners. Kitchen staff. Ain't no kitchen staff. Yeah, The Professional is good. Professional, Boondock Saints. Yeah, there's a lot of good older movies and older games. It'd be tough to find good ones nowadays. I keep forgetting about the drugs. Yeah, he's running around with a face of fucking cocaine for like half the movie. Oh shit. Oh, another good one. All right, so in the recommendation of really good movies that I don't think were very popular. If you've never seen is it called The Nice Guys? Yeah, Yeah. Okay, I get the Nice Guys and the other guys mixed up. So the Nice Guys is Russell Crowe and the dude from Barbie. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But it's those two in like a 1970s noir style movie. Absolutely hysterical. Ryan Gosling. There we go. I mean, obviously, it's supposed to be mirroring the 1970s, but it feels like a movie out of time. It feels like a movie that would have came out like between 2005 and 2011 in a good way. What I mean by that is that it actually has good humor, good action, plenty of nudity. You know, it's a really just overall, it's a great watch. Like a good movie that's not afraid to like pull punches and make jokes. It feels like it came out probably back when like all the other kind of like raunchy comedies did in the good old days. Yeah, I will say Ryan Gosling is actually really good with comedies. That guy's hysterical. Or at least in Nice Guys, he was great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, my favorite was when it was like, "Why are you wet?" He's like, "I was questioning the mermaid." Actually, you know what? That's a good back-to-back feature. I highly recommend that. Yeah, take a look at Nice Guys and then From Paris with Love. Watch those back-to-back, man. That's a good beer and pretzels night right there. I was like, the wife and I like doing like themed kind of like back-to-back movies. Like we just watched the other day. We watched Warfare and Black Hawk Down back-to-back. That was really good. I'll just take a look at True Romance. Take a look at it. Speaking of older games, you know, that reminds me that who here finished like fully finished LA Noire? Is that what the game was called? Yeah, my memory is shit today. Yes, Matthew. Warfare is good, but it's very fast. Don't get into the movie because it's gonna be over before you know it. They did it for a very low cost and it's pretty good. What's going on, Commander? It's Tiki time. No, but Warfare is a very fast movie. It is. I think it's. I don't know. I like fast movies like that don't like waste anything, you know. But very good, but very fast. Bring Vaseline. Oh God. What are you playing against tomorrow? Well, I found out I have a preference for movies like that. Like I think his name's John Johnston or something like that. I don't know. He's the director I prefer. He's the guy who did The Rocketeer. He did the first Captain America movie. He did the third Jurassic Park movie. He did a couple other movies too. But he's very fast, and there's not a an ounce of fat left in the movie. I mean, every scene is there for a reason. You know, every line of dialogue has an exact point and purpose. There is none of this, like, self-flatulating or letting an actor or actress have their monologue. No, everything is exactly as a purpose. No wasted scenes. I just recently rewatched one of my favorite movies of all time. I think of all movies, this is my top movie of all movies. Feel free to judge me. That's fine. I don't mind. Hands down, top pick is Starship Troopers. The movie has everything: action, comedy, nudity. All, you know, it has to be the holy trinity of a movie, and there's no wasted scenes. There's everything is in there. Everything in there is great. Everything in there is good. Phenomenal. No, I like shorter runtime movies. I think, you know, a lot of times you don't need to sit there and pontificate, because I think when you have a longer runtime, it leads to people like telling and not showing. You know, I don't know. I just, again, I'm not a writer, so, you know, I don't think I'm any better than they are. But I just noticed with modern movies, the writing is just not the same, man. I don't know if they're all from like Tumblr or what, but their writing is just not there. Like, I want to blame the actors and actresses, but Jesus. I'm sure you see it in video games too. Like I said, for these guys to join the stream, the conversation came up because I went back and I realized I never finished. Ooh, Taps is a good one. Nice, HS, good reference. Yeah, speaking of Tom Cruise, yeah, Taps is a damn good one. But I recently went back and I'm starting to play Mass Effect because I never finished it. I stopped about a third of the way through the second game. So I'm going back and playing Mass Effect. I'm just amazed at how good writing was. Ooh, you know what? Alright guys, we're putting this to a vote. This is probably going to be the most controversial vote. You know, not the clickbait. I mean, clickbait, you're already in the fucking video, right? But I'm going to put a vote in the chat. This is it. This is the most difficult vote we've had, hands down. Alright, there is your poll. Sicario wasn't bad. The second one was fucking terrible, but the first one was good. That same director, man, he's weird. Like, everyone told me about the Lioness. Season 1 was eh. Season 2 was so much wasted potential. Oh my god, that could have been so good where, like, the cartel betrayed them. Like, the final battle in Season 2 of Lioness was just... It screamed of someone who has no concept of military tactics or experience planning it. It was the weirdest fucking thing. Yeah, there you go. I mean, not for me. I love Aliens. Don't get me wrong, I do. I love Aliens, but 100% Starship Troopers. If you haven't seen either movie, I recommend both, actually. If you haven't seen either one, I'd recommend watching Aliens and then Starship Troopers. It's basically just, you know, military sci-fi movies, just done in two separate ways. One has more horror, and one has more action and comedy. Starship Troopers, very different from the book. Almost has nothing to do with the book, but it's kind of a, I'm not going to go on the whole rabbit hole of explaining it. Because people are like, oh, it's a parody, but it's not a parody, but it's a parody people believe, so it's no longer parody. Okay, I'm glad you said this. I've analyzed every second of this movie, HS. So let me get to this. No, the asteroid was coming either way. So the asteroid was in response to the Mormon colonists settling in arachnid space. So, now what you're saying is if the only thing is, like, if they had been paying a little bit more attention, if she had been a little bit better, maybe they would have kept their comm equipment. Maybe they could have warned the Earth. That's different, but no, that asteroid was coming either way. Yeah, so the important thing is a lot of people give Paul Van Hoven shit for how he did Starship Troopers. In my opinion, and this is a lot of things, a lot of people don't know this. Paul Van Hoven is a veteran. He served in his country's military. I'm pretty sure it was compulsory service. You know, so he was a kid during World War II. So he actually remembers, allegedly, he says he has memories of, and I'm not gonna doubt the guy, but he has memories of, you know, Germans invading his home country, right? And he remembers seeing all the propaganda films and shit like that. And later on in his life, you know, during the Cold War, he was, I think, pretty sure he was drafted. It was a compulsory service. But yeah, he actually served in the military. And so, he never read the Starship Troopers book, but when he made this movie, he wanted to make it very similar to the propaganda films that the Third Reich was putting out. If you notice, all the main characters are very attractive, you know, regardless of whichever way you butter your bread. You know, you look at the male and female characters, they're all very conventionally attractive. And the way it's like, oh, would you like to know more, and all the kind of propaganda stuff, it's just through that it created a really cool sci-fi thing. It was really, really neat. No, it never deflected. It took off part of the ship, but the mass of that asteroid versus a small part of the ship that it hit would not change the trajectory. That thing just steamed on past it. But one of the big things is well, yeah, that's the whole point. If you notice, a lot of the uniforms are very reminiscent of, you know, German style uniforms, and they were very attractive uniforms, you know, and that's why Hugo Boss made them and stuff like that. But so one of the cool things about Starship Troopers, one of the cool behind the scenes information, you know, a lot of people know this kind of behind the scenes stuff. One of the cool things, they brought in that military advisor they use in a lot of movies. He ended up playing Colonel Sink in Band of Brothers. He's in a lot of military movies. He generally plays like an older officer, but he used to be one of the better military advisors for movies. But for Starship Troopers, they had so many people that what they did was they took some of the extras who were either veterans or just a little bit more competent, and they took them and they put them with some of the movie stars when they put them through a like 2 to 3 week, you know, crash course, basic training style thing. And then those extras that they put through that additional training with the actual actors and actresses, they turned them into squad leaders for all the other extras. So that's why when you're watching the movie, you watch like how they land in planet, you know, landed on planet P and planet K and stuff like that. You'll see some of them acting as squad leaders, running all the extras around. They actually turned it into like a kind of like a JORTC style thing. It was really cool. Yeah, I think you're. I'd say I think you may be a little bit overreaching on that one, HS. I think the bugs just aimed it towards the planet. It wasn't large enough to be a planet killer, no matter where it hit. But I think it was a, you know, it was a shot across the bow because, again, the Mormon settlers broke into the arachnid quarantine zone, set up a place, and got slaughtered. So then the arachnids sent just one asteroid. Because you think about it, if they really want to knock out Earth, they would send like 20 or 50. I mean, they have all the plasma in the world. They have an asteroid belt. They would just send a shit ton of projectiles. They just sent one. It was just supposed to be like a, hey, back the F up, you know? And then it led to all-out war. Yes. And that's why the classroom scene from the movie is so good. Because it is directly from the book. So, again, you know this politics, I'm very apolitical on this channel. I don't get into politics only because everyone here is an adult, so you have your own politics, and that's good. Good for you. You know, truly have your own politics. I recommend you read, and vote. No matter how you vote, I'm just happy that people vote. But what I can say apolitically is Starship Troopers is actually required reading for me when I was at the Merchant Marine Academy. It's a very good book. Not getting into politics, not getting into whole fascism versus nationalism versus militarism. What's the difference? That's for much hipstery people than me on YouTube to do. But what's the takeaway from the book Starship Troopers is teaching the burden of command. That's what that book really nails, particularly because it deals with like Mustangs. You have to be in the book anyways. You have to be enlisted before you become an officer. You can't just commission. So the book does a really good job of teaching what the burden of command is. So that's why I've always read it and I've always advocated that's a great book to read, particularly for young military officers or for, non-commissioned officers. So the way the bugs shot it is they have these bugs that can actually produce, organic plasma and eject it out of their thorax, I want to say, and it can actually maintain its velocity even into the void of space. So one of their planets they have, or some of their planets they have, are surrounded by an asteroid belt, kind of like how we have in our galaxy. And so the bugs would literally shoot plasma. They would time it right. They calculate the celestial navigation and the astrophysics, and they would hit this asteroid belt with plasma to knock one of the rocks loose and send it on a trajectory towards Earth. Yeah, for young military individuals, I always recommended the two books I recommended was Starship Troopers and Catch-22. That way you're getting kind of both sides of it. You're getting, the burden of command. You're also learning about the dark humor of the military service. And then particularly for kids who wanted to go to a military academy, or do like military college, I highly recommend Ender's Game. Not the whole series, but just Ender's Game. So between those three books, I think it gives you like a pretty good snapshot. Yes, yeah. So it is. Yeah, so it is on the opposite side of the galaxy. Yeah, they hit the asteroid so hard that the laws of physics, an object in motion stays in motion because it's the void of space. They hit it and they knock it out of the asteroid belt, and it goes in a linear path directly towards Earth. Oh, Commander, you remind me. Okay, so this is how old in YouTube I am, right? Like, I remember, and he recently came back, which is cool. By the way, Ask a Ninja is back on YouTube, so that's totally cool. But I remember in some of the earlier days of YouTube, when the humor was really good, there was this hilarious thing. You guys may remember this. If you don't know who Celine Dion is, there's something called Selena Scene. So what Selena Scene was, they would play Celine Dion songs with scenes from movies that they're wildly inappropriate. And one of my favorites was, I think it was like My Heart Will Go On, to Rules of Engagement when they're defending the embassy and they start engaging the shooters in the crowd. Yeah, there's a lot of good books. Lieutenant Flicks, I think it's A Bullet Through Fire, is pretty good. I'm a huge fan of House to House. It's Battle of Fallujah. That's a really, really good book. There's a lot of good modern day military books. But I was conventional. I was never a special kid. So I've never read any of the Special Forces SEAL books. People always recommend them to me. I've never read a single one. Nothing against the community. There's so many of them. I will check that out, HS. Speaking of good movies and good writing, just recently watched Blood Diamond. Probably not the best South African accent I've ever heard of, but the movie's still really good. Terrible accent, though. Right, I know. Asking Ninjas, because basically someone had access to his account, or the account, I guess, and just started chopping up old video and posting the shorts, which is pretty genius. And then I guess he's actually coming back. I read a lot of, as far as like military novels when I was younger, I read a lot of Vietnam novels, because I wanted to learn about small unit tactics and like platoon level leadership. Because originally, long ago, I studied, I wanted to be an officer. I studied to be an officer. That's what I did the whole thing, went to the school, and then I'm like, fuck that. But 13th Valley is actually really good. So it moves so fast. It's in the movie. I said you gotta. Ooh, oh, paint pot went crazy. All right, no one's broken. We're good. Nope, everyone's good. Nice. So it moves so fast that it created its own like wormhole, I guess. I don't know. Again, it's not hard sci. It's not like The Expanse. It's not hard sci-fi. It is a bit fantastical, but yeah, when you watch the movie, it all makes sense. Because the ship Carmen and Xander are on are literally, they're just out there and they're just flirting, hanging out. Then out of nowhere, they detect a wormhole, and out of the wormhole comes that asteroid. And they barely move out of the way fast enough. And the asteroid breaks off their communication section of their ship, so they can't warn Earth. Nah, same thing. I was a big fan of Expanse, at least the first couple seasons. When it starts getting like real weird, I'm just like, eh. And then Naomi character is kind of annoying with her whole like her son, and she just kept like backstabbing everybody. Like I like the Belchers, but I did not like the Naomi character at all. But the first couple seasons of Expanse are absolutely phenomenal. I'd definitely say like the first 2 seasons, some of my favorite sci-fi. Ooh, HS. I'll have to give that a read. Yes, actually, Matthew Gore, I did play that one, and a lot of people may not know this. There's also, very similar to that game, Matthew, there was an RTS for Aliens, for Alien vs. Predator. That was really cool. There was an actual RTS game for it back in the day too. It may be a bit of a spicy take, but going back to video games, I actually liked Aliens Fireteam Elite more than Dark Descent. I think they're both good games in their own right, but I think I preferred the gameplay of Fireteam Elite over Dark Descent. Yeah, about the first 3 seasons. Yeah, that tracks Bad Rabbit. Yep. Like I said, I couldn't. I think it was the first 2, but yeah, if it's the first 3, yeah, that makes sense. Anytime I play Stellaris, I always make the Belters. I always run a Belter faction. It's so much fun. Oh, nice, Bad Rabbit. I'll take a look. We're taking a chance here. Like I said, you guys can't see because I'm painting off camera, but I'm painting like a madman. So I'll probably need a break here in a little bit. I'll take a look at your picture. But that being said, let me, even though I'm not shilling because I don't get paid, but yeah, if you like the first couple seasons of Expanse, particularly like the civil war between like Earth and Mars, when it goes on sale, take a look at Infinite Warfare. It's actually probably cheaper to buy the CD of Infinite Warfare on Amazon or eBay for like $5 than to wait for it to go on sale for $20. But just for the campaign alone, the campaign of Infinite Warfare, to me, is like a mix of, I mean, I don't want to say Mass Effect because it's kind of not. It's more of a mix between Battlestar Galactica and Expanse, like the TV shows. Yeah, same thing, Matthew. It got a little too weird. I'm like, like, you have the perfect setup between, you know, Mars, Earth, and the Belters. Like, just keep it there. It was cool. Like, just keep it there. Why you get all weird with it? This one HS. So, oh, the light's a little bright. Hold on. No, I think this is gonna be my my officer unit. So no, he's hiding behind. He's taking cover behind a barrel, and on that barrel he has two hand grenades and a canteen. You can see a lot of them have pistols, a lot of them have wooden batons to kind of be MPs. Definitely ran out of time to try and write like white lettering on the vehicles and stuff. I was like, ah, no, fuck that. But yeah, you can tell a lot of these guys, they're all meant to be MPs, so they're all kind of behind like Dragon Teeth with BARs, you know, trying to set up checkpoints and stuff like that. That's why some of them are by barrels too. So this is based loosely off the TO&E for the 83rd Infantry Division, and they had one MP platoon, in quotation marks, attached to the whole division. That's why it's 32 guys, 5 jeeps, and 6 trucks. So the way it works is like one of the trucks acts as Overwatch, you know, and they have like 3 guys up, 3 guys down. So to have 2 guys relaxing, 2 SMGs and a BAR, right? So like this truck right here would be Overwatch, and then out here you would have one BAR guy in Overwatch, and you'd have 2 SMG guys, one to search the vehicle, or one to like deal with the driver, one to search the vehicle, and the BARs on Overwatch. If it gets really bad, you have a truck with a heavy machine gun, and then it ends up being a gate runner. You have a jeep, a chase vehicle to chase them down. So basically, it's just like a whole bunch of MPs setting up checkpoints, which kind of makes sense for a Fall of Berlin game, you know? So this was the old rules for the Americans before the new book came out that changed it. And because these guys were paratrooper, I took them as regular guys. So I took them as regular infantry and I ran them as real small squads because I wanted them to be MP, so they're gonna be small squads. I wanted to take as many SMGs as possible. And then I had to fill out the 1,500 points. So I gave them AT grenades, tough fighter, and I made them have one BAR and a whole bunch of SMGs. Because I figured towards the end of the war, the 83rd stole everything they got their hands on. These are MPs attached to the actual infantry division, not with the MP battalion, you know, dealing with all the POWs. These are guys in the front line collecting POWs and sending them to the rear. So they would need every automatic weapon they can get their hands on. So that's why they have all the SMGs and BARs. Figure they either have it or they've stolen it from other units. So a lot of them have pistols too. You know, they're either issued 1911s or like 45 cal like M3 Victory revolvers, or they're just stolen from, you know, Germans or other people, particularly from other American GIs who've gotten drunk, you know, and discharged these pistols that they've taken from Germans. You know, they've gotten arrested and thrown in the Hooskow, so the MPs just kind of confiscated off them. So yeah, on the tabletop, these guys are basically just gonna be all motorized in these trucks, hopping out, just doing SMG things. They're all veterans, tough fight. Even the guys with BARs have the tough fighter rule. So I saved, so I wanted to HS, but like I said, this army was just made for this event. I saved all my MP44s because I don't have a lot of German units. I saved all those for my Japanese units because I always need extra SMGs. As I just do it kind of like a what do you call it, like an exchange program, like for an advisor. So some of my Imperial Japanese have like MP44s. The MP44s are generally used for like conflict 47 for the assault rifles, but those Stig 44s, I'm sorry, for the MP40s and the MP38s, I keep those with my Imperial Japanese officers to make SMG guys. That way they're not all just Type 100s. I even have a couple of PPS H41s on some of my Imperial Japanese, which is kind of cool. Particularly because that works really well for my Special Naval Landing Force, because I need lots of SMGs for the Imperial Japanese Navy, and they were extremely fond of other countries' weapons. Having served a lot overseas and outside of Japan, they really got used to other countries' weapons. They really enjoyed them. I think after I finish this, I'll probably go. I think I may end up working on some orcs. I think I may go straight into working on my Imperial Japanese Navy. Matthew, that sounds awesome, man. You gotta let me know how that goes. No, there's no firing deck that I'm aware of in bolt action. You can issue orders out of a truck, but you can't shoot out of a truck. But, like I said, every truck has, in this army, every truck has a heavy machine gun, every Jeep has a heavy machine gun. So, we're already going to be putting out some serious hurt. Vehicle-mounted heavy machine guns, I think, are phenomenal in 3rd edition. Because vehicle-mounted machine guns, yes, they got the half amount of shots nerf. However, heavy machine guns got a increase in the amount of shots that they have in 3rd edition. So they actually went up. Back in the day, HMGs, I think, on vehicles used to be 2 shots. In 2nd edition, I think. So now in 3rd edition, now they have 3 shots. They're like a hell of a lot better. And you got to remember, I mean, yes, soft skin vehicles, they are, you know, getting taken out on a 6, but it is, I just played a game. It can be hard to get that 6. You're still fishing for that 6, right? And also, more importantly, their heavy machine gun can absolutely threaten a half track very easily. That'll punch through that can punch through a half track. Not saying it will, but it can exactly threaten soft armor targets. And if you play Conflict 47, you know, heavy infantry and horror units, heavy machine guns and AT rifles are extremely useful. Anything with a +1 pin is really worth its weight in gold and Conflict 47. Yeah, HS. I don't know. I love Conflict 47. I'm excited, you know, but I worry what they're gonna do to it. Truly, it sounds so weird. Again, it sounds kind of. I'm not to sound like a doomer or anything like that. Like I like I like Conflict 47 the way it is. I just think it just needs, you know, more affordable models. You know, I don't think Conflict 47 needed a whole rules rewrite. I know they want to put it back in line with 3rd edition, but 3rd edition's not even a year old. It still has some bugs, you know? So I'm like, you know, like, I don't know. I think a lot other people other than me are super excited for a rules change. Now, platoon structure, yes, that's one thing that I think Conflict 47 did need. I love the platoon structure of 3rd edition, but the way they changed the rules, I don't know how it's the whole like rift die and also it sounds fun, but it almost sounds too fun and too unique, and I think it's gonna fizzle. I'm not sure. Like that would have been my thing. I would have been kept the rules how they were. Add the platoon structure, you know, of 3rd edition. That you get to take different platoons and things like that, you know, and then maybe readjust the points level, and then release new models. That I think would have been great for Conflict 47. A whole ass new rewrite with all these old, you know, Black Letter riders, and they haven't talked anything about the lore. So I'm kind of worried, you know, like what else is going to change in the lore, particularly because it's 2025. Like, who knows what's going to happen? So I'm like, shit. Yeah, like I said, that's all HS needed. I'm sorry, that's all Conflict 47 needed was just plastic models. Before they spent all this money rewriting the rules and all this other kind of stuff, just make plastic models. You know? Or bring it in line with 3rd edition bolt action, but instead they're doing all this weird, like, you know, flowing of the rift and rift dice. I'm like, shit. Like, I feel like it's gonna get a little too, sounds bad, but I feel like it's gonna be too weird, you know? I'm like, Jesus. But some people are excited about that, and that's awesome. Like I said, I want people to have fun and play whatever they want to play. But I felt the first move for Conflict 47 before you ever did new rules or anything, instead of doing a whole fresh reboot, was just because they said they would too, way back in the old like Warlord Day, I think like 2 years ago, right? They talked about how they're gonna put out plastic kits. That would have been the first big thing, just plastic kits. So, and the problem is, you know, because they're waiting so long to put out plastic kits, and you guys know I like both companies. I like Wargame Atlantic, and I also like Warlord Games. Warlord Games was dragging their feet so long on Conflict 47 that Warlord Games dragged their feet so much on Conflict 47 that Wargame Atlantic you know, came in and basically ate their lunch. And like, hey, you know what? Hey guys, here's zombies. Zombies with every kind of head type you could ever need. These are perfect for Conflict 47. Oh, hey, here's werewolves. I'm like, guys, you need to do something before they put out some fucking werebears, and then you're really screwed, you know? See, yeah, I heard about that gate game. I've heard about it before, but I've never seen it played. So I'm not sure about the dice mechanic, but that would make sense if that's where they got the Rift dice from. And again, I'm not against it. I said I'm not trying to sound like a Doom person here, but what made Conflict 47 so much fun was, yes, it was weird war, but it wasn't that weird. It was just World War II with some weird shit. But what they're doing is they're making it like they're putting it. I don't know. I felt like with Conflict 47, I think less would have been a little bit more. You know, put out the models in plastic, make it a little bit more affordable. You know, and then slowly over time, once you've released all the books for Bolt Action 3rd Edition, once you've ironed out 3rd Edition, then I would have released Conflict 47 in line with 3rd Edition, right? Right now they're trying to release 3rd Edition, 2nd Edition of Conflict 47 to be in line with 3rd Edition of Bolt Action, but they're not even done putting out all the armies of books for Bolt Action, and the rules are still being adjusted and being fluxed. That seems kind of weird. But I also don't own a company, so I fucking don't know anything. That's a fair point, Square Gun Sean. Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm inundated in the lore, and I'm already a fan, so you're right. All I wanted was plastic models. But you're right, that wouldn't bring in new people. That's a fair point. But I still think, even with that being said, I would still wait until Bolt Action 3rd Edition had been leveled out before bringing Conflict 47 in line with it. Because I feel like it's trying to run and jump into the opening sliding door of a moving van. You know, like, can we not just fucking, like, stop the van for 2 minutes and let me just hop in? Alright, let's take a look and see how the poll's doing. Whoa! Oh, man. Alright. Oh, Jesus. Aliens is beating the fighting Texas Aggie out of Starship Troopers. Alright. Alright. Damn. Yeah, it seems in the rules. I really like the rules for the Chindents. I'm glad their artillery got reevaluated. The Americans having 2 call-ins for the planes made sense because everybody can take flak, you know, so it kind of bounces out. Versus the British with their artillery, you know, there's nothing you can do versus artillery. So I'm kind of glad they reevaluated that. Because I feel like 1 artillery with a reroll, you know, is more effective than 2 artilleries because they could both be misses and you just be pissed. So, because that means your guy, if you miss with your first one, it means your guy has to stay alive in order to pop off a second round, you know? Well, yeah, Bad Rabbit. A lot of their metal models can just be melted down and just be recast as something else. So that kind of makes sense. Hey, I'm sorry I accidentally grayed out someone's message. That was my mistake. Actually, I just bumped my phone. That was 100% a mistake. Don't freak out. That was just me making a mistake. By the way, have you guys seen the version 3 Great Britain rules? I don't know why I accidentally grayed that out. I was just touching the screen. I don't know. The thing I'm excited about for the new Conflict 47 coming out is I just want platoons. You know, I want to see armored platoons in Conflict 40. I mean, you know, I know I can technically do tank wars, but still, because I want to see a World War II themed, you know, battle tech on the tabletop at 28mm. I think that's gonna be the coolest part. You have a whole ass town set up, you know, and you have light walkers, medium walkers, and heavy walkers. I think that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I actually didn't know Conflict 47 stuff's on sale. I gotta take a look. I just recently bought a bolt action Imperial Japanese Army off a fellow fan of Morning Glory. He was selling his. It was funny. He like specifically tagged me in the buy and sell, like, "Hey, this might interest you," and I was like, "Damn, it does." It was a good deal, so I just picked up a whole bunch of Imperial Japanese bolt action models from him. Made sure to pay him a good price, so it kind of helps him out, you know. So before I go and buy new boxes, you know, let me help out someone else. But yeah, BattleTech's already doing BattleTech, you know, Gothic or whatever. So yeah, that's what I want to see in Conflict 47. Is it's basically, you know, diesel punk BattleTech, 28mm. Yeah, usually the only sales I see for Conflict 47 stuff these days is just the starter boxes. Those are still some of the best values. Especially if you play bolt action. But trying to get stuff now, like piecemeal 1s and 2s, man, it's crazy. I'm glad I picked up some of the models I did while I still had them. Because I think they're just going to get crazy expensive. But I will be at Browncoats, the Bearded Browncoat. I will be there tomorrow on Sunday, and I'll probably peruse and grab whatever Conflict 47 models they have. Last time I was there, I think they had like one Siberian convict. Our Siberian terror squad, I think that was it. Commander, that 100% makes sense. Something I'm learning, someone's trying to tell me it's always good to find like a one-person game system. That's what I said. That's why I'm trying to learn Kill Team for Warhammer 40k. I think it has like a co-op mode kind of thing. You know, I'm starting to learn that. Like Zona Alpha is single player. There's a few games out there. Fallout Wasteland Warfare is you can do it single player. But No, I got you. Like I said, that's why I'm trying to build up the, I was trying to build up the Conflict 47 scene, you know, but it's one of those things where once you get news that a new edition's dropping, it's like a kill shot, because I can't build up a community, not like, hey, let's all play it. Who wants to show up and play the old rules? Someone's like, I don't give a shit, you know? So I kind of hang out in Bolt Action. I still play Conflict 47 here and there, but play a lot more Bolt Action. I mean, I'm excited, you know, for more Conflict 47 stuff, but I'm just worried what's going to happen. Oh yeah, Blood Bowl is single player. I actually did forget about that. But hey, this one's for you, Squick Hunter Sean. I think we were talking about this. There's some really good orc models that can come from Blood Bowl. Like, some of those orcs are actually really, really cool. I may pick some up for like knobs and stuff like that. Speaking of that, any of you guys remember Mutant League Football or Mutant League Hockey on the Sega Genesis, or what was the Sega Genesis called in the UK? Mega Drive or some shit like that, I think. Mutant League Hockey was awesome. They came out with a Mutant Football League game, which is pretty good on Xbox, and they're coming out with a second one. I was kind of hoping they'd make a hockey one, but you know, what can you do? Yeah, as a kid, Mutant League Hockey on the Sega was like my go-to. Alright, let's finish up this truck and then jump back onto the troops. Yeah, the Jeeps are just about done. All I gotta finish on the Jeeps are just the Thompsons and the passengers. Passenger's hand. The trucks, I was gonna hit the finish these tires and hit the windshield wipers. And the trucks will basically be done. And then just batch painting the American troops. Yeah, no worries. I was kind of curious because you're still talking about the alien and bug class. I was like, I think he might be behind. Like I said, I'm super excited about this bolt action event. I haven't been to a big bolt action event like this fall, brother. This is gonna be my first one. Has anyone here ever been to one? Any advice, tips, tactics? I've been painting these guys all day. I'm actually glad I work remote because on like on my lunch breaks like that I can get some painting in. I like sat down and just like hyper focused for 30 minutes. On a side related noted, this one's for Bad Rabbit. Because I know he's going to Clash of the Caribbean. I'm not sure if you saw the news, but Margaritaville at Sea is actually about to acquire a third ship for its fleet. It's going to be bigger than the Islander, way bigger than the Paradise. Nobody knows where it's going to sail out of though. Still working on the website. As you can tell, I kind of freaked out about this painting, and I kind of put all engines ahead full on painting. So the website's still being made. I said, you already got your ticket, you're already good to go, you know, so there's nothing crazy. Ooh, tournament advice, what do we got here? Good rest, got it, hydrated, yep, sit down whenever you want, yep. Nice. I absolutely do make up stories. If I could make up stories that well, I would actually write books. But I don't know how you breach the gap between, like, fanfic and actually getting your shit published by, like, you know, minigame studios. I think, like everybody else, you know, I'd love to have, like, written for Black Library back when it was good. You know, I'd love to write books for, like, Conflict 47 and stuff, but I don't know how I'd go about getting published, you know? Especially not that they hired all these guys from old Black Library, like, they don't want fucking my random ass trash. Bad Rabbit, it doesn't affect our game in any way. Like I said, the Paradise just makes these small 2-day runs and sometimes 4-day runs. It does a little triangle from, you know, West Palm Beach to maybe the Keys over to the Bahamas and back. It just stays in that one little area, that milk run. The Islander sails out of Tampa on the Gulf side of Florida and makes runs to Mexico and back. So I have no idea where they're going to put their next ship. What I'm thinking is probably either they'll put it in either Mobile or Galveston and probably sail to Mexico and then over to the Bahamas and back. So Matthew, if they're actual boots, I paint them brown for my IJA troops on officers. But if they're the tabby boots, you've never seen tabby boots? They're kind of like what you would call ninja boots. They're black. They're kind of made of rubber, and they split into 2 toes, basically. Then I paint those black. Yeah, it's going to show on my home waters. That's where I learned how to sail and do all sorts of stuff in Galveston Bay. But oh, that's what I was talking about, tabby boots. Yeah. So Matthew, if they're regular boots, I just paint them brown. But and a lot of officers wore riding boots. You'll see it like in kind of like more in like Russian World War I infantry. They have like those big, tall, long boots. A lot of Japanese officers wore riding boots. You know. Those can be black or brown. But if they're the tabby boots where they have like 2 toes, they kind of look like what like Tao feet would look like, you know? You know, like 2 toes, those ninja boots, those definitely are black. It's funny. Tabby boots are still used to this day. Well, let me figure out how I want to say this so I don't get... they filmed True Lies in the Keys, actually. Man, that's another good movie. Holy shit. Yeah, there you go. That's like From Paris with Love. It's very similar to True Lies. Yeah, True Lies is fantastic, by the way. Bill Paxton, may he rest in peace. Such a good actor. Speaking of aliens. Anywho, with the tabby boots. So tabby boots are still used to this day by certain some people who operate with a lot of people who operate with fins, like swimming with fins. They have to rapidly go on shore and not, you know. It's funny, a lot of times they won't wear traditional combat boots. Sometimes they do. You know, of course, nowadays, there's always some company out there that's really ran by a former soft guy who sells particular tactical gear, you know, that has some type of Nordic name, likely, you know. Anywho, but back in the olden days, where there wasn't, I'm talking like during the golden age of GWAT, when there wasn't a lot of specifically made tactical gear, you had to like kind of figure out what was out there and improvise. So a lot of guys went and got old school Japanese style rubber tabby boots, and they would use those with their dive fins. Because if you've ever swam in the military, there's a good chance. Doesn't matter if you did SEAL, BUDS, Army diver, rescue swimmer, or, you know, Air Force soft stuff, you used rocket fins, right? Rocket fins are very unique. If you know what they are, you know exactly what they are. Like they're not the best fin, they're not the worst fin, but they're pretty damn good for what they do. And you can swim for a long time. It's a cool thing. The way the jets are built into the fins doesn't take a lot of energy on like a downstroke, but an upstroke you get a big kick. Anywho, so with that being said, rocket fins don't fit over like jungle boots very well, right? But you also can't use them barefoot either. They're meant to work with booties. And scuba boots and snorkel boots, stuff like that, they're expensive and they tear really bad. Neoprene's not the toughest stuff. So a lot of people are having trouble finding, like, what are we going to use for our fins? So a lot of guys I knew used old school rubber tabby boots from Japan. But we found a much cheaper way. So one of the cheapest ways to use dive fins that require booties, not just rocket fins but other ones, we found low cost, low tech, off the shelf were chucks. I preferred high tops, but you could wear low cut chucks, particularly the blacked out ones, and you were good to go. I liked high tops because, you know, getting up and down the beach and shore, getting up and down on like floating docks and stuff like that, especially with algae and shit like that, your feet slip a lot, you know, and I prefer to have ankle support so I don't roll my ankle. So sometimes you'll see that with divers. They'll be wearing like Converse Chuck Taylors, and that's just so you can put the boots on, lace them up, and you can pop your fins on and off, you know, and walk around. You'd be perfectly fine. The cool thing, everyone wanted to do Vibram 5 fingers, but it's such a pain in the ass to get your foot measured, and it changes your whole walking and running style, you know. Nowadays, I think there's a company called like Ultima who make like a badass. It's like a tactical version of a fucking Converse sneaker. It's cool from what I hear. Like, it's all badass and like it drains better. It's made out of better material. But the cool thing about low cut chucks, or just Chuck Taylors in general, is they're just canvas and rubber, and they're super lightweight. So you chuck an extra pair in your pack and you're good to go, you know? But it's funny, you see all this like super cool, badass, high-tech gear, but in the olden days, we just kind of used whatever we get off the shelf. I say we, I mean people who swam. Well, yeah, there's all sorts of cool waterproof shoes now, but that was back in the days, you know, chucks were just canvas and rubber, so it worked really well. You're able to, like, take your fins off. You didn't have to, like, then take your booties off and put back on a boot in the middle of a fucking shore. Yeah, it's a fucking bad idea. But again, if you've ever worn, like, Converse Chuck Taylors, they have no arch support, so you're not about to be doing like a 5K ruck march and that shit. You will rip your feet apart. It's always one of the few things you always carried in your pack, you know, in case you ever had like a blowout on one of your boots or something happened, your boot gets torn. So you're not running around barefoot. Like, chucks weighed out absolutely nothing, and they were great. So there's another little fun story for you. You may see that if you watch movies and you pay attention. You may see that. You may see military swimmers wearing like, especially when they start selling, like, thank God for goths, right? Not only do we all love big titty goth girls, you know, but thank God for goths and them making all blacked out Chuck Taylors like popular, because that shit was what a lot of people bought. Low-tech solutions, man. Those were the good days. So someone was asking about that movie Warfare the other day, and what made Warfare so cool to see is this was like during the early years of GWAT, so there was no specifically made, marketed Black Hawk tactical gear. A lot of shit was just what you could find off the shelf. So you see a lot of like older Bianchi, like Widowmaker holsters, a lot of legit drop legs. Like I still like a good Safari Island drop leg, modified, but they're still good. You know, a lot of pouches were just repurposed, like used a hand grenade pouch for everything. Like grenade pouches were handcuff pouches, and oh yeah, these are good fucking times. All right, take it easy, Bad Rabbit. Have a good night, man. I got nothing against airsoft. Something I did when I left the service. Actually, I was still in the guard. But something I did that I found a lot of fun with. I think it's basically like, I don't know. I would call it almost LARPing technically, but mag-fed paintball. So there's nothing wrong with airsoft, but magazine-fed paintball to me was awesome because it reminded me of using simunitions in the military. You know, and it's reasonably priced. Like you can get a good mag-fed paintball marker for like $200 maybe. You know, buy a couple mags. And unlike airsoft, where they could have high cap mags where they hold like 100 and something BBs, these hold just 30. I know there's some airsoft that only holds 30 BBs. I know that's existence out there. But these paintball markers will only hold like 20 paintballs. You know. Oh yeah, I still have a backpack from Tactical Tailor. They made all the good stuff, all the good ammo pouches for your 240. But yeah, mag-fed paintball is a lot of fun. I call it LARPing because that's basically what it is. A lot of guys would just dress in like old military gear. It just felt like playing Call of Duty in real life, you know, because it was still stuff like Capture the Flag. It was still fun. It wasn't very military-esque at all. It wasn't military training. It was just a lot of fun. And the reason why I got into this is because they were tax write-offs because I was a military instructor. So all my mag-fed paintball markers I just brought to like drill weekend, and we do like active shooter training. Just make everybody wear a paintball mask, and because they make a Tip-X pistol, which is just a semi-automatic pistol, you know, so it worked great. So the only thing the thing that made me leery about airsoft, the same thing I ran into when I was a training instructor in Standy Val running force-on-force exercises with blanks, is when you rely upon the honesty of people, you know, a lot of times it goes out the window. Because some people are honest, that's true, but not everyone's going to be, especially people who pay hundreds of dollars for their gear and for their airsoft device and for all their other stuff in their ticket. Usually there's a good chance they won't automatically call all their hits, you know, because they want to get the most out of their money, which I understand. But that was my problem with airsoft, where paintball, you have the same problem. Don't get me wrong, people wipe all the time, you know, that's why you give them the old bonus ball. But the benefit of paintball is it generally hurt a lot more, and there's obviously a paint you know, paint on their uniform. Yeah, that was one of the best things when I bought a lot of my paintball markers. It's not illegal; it's perfectly fine. I claimed them on my taxes as, you know, pro gear for training tool, and I just, you know, got as much red. You know, I try to find like good graffiti, red paintballs for them. I took my mag-fed paint markers to drill weekends, and when we do active shooter training, you know, super easy. Give everybody paintball mask and let them go at it. It was easier because to request the munitions, I had to go through a MUN's officer and all this other kind of stuff, and you know, pat everyone down, make sure no one had a live weapon. It was a whole pain in the ass. Paintball markers a shit ton easier. Yeah, that's true. So good paint is expensive, but that was the benefit of mag-fed paintball. So if you try and play regular paintball, you know, like speedball or something like that, yeah, you'll go through a box of paint yourself, and that's like 60, 70, 80 bucks, maybe 100 bucks, right? But mag-fed paintball, each magazine holds like 20 rounds, and your pistol mags hold like 7. The chance of you emptying all your ammo before you get killed is probably not going to happen. So you load up, you know, you load up all your magazines, you're going in with about 100 balls, you know, and you'll come, and by the time you get killed, you probably have like 80 or 70 balls left, you know? So usually like 2 or 3 guys would go in for 1 box of paint, and that would last us all day. So that was the other benefit of mag-fed paintballs. It's a hell of a lot cheaper when it came to buying paintballs. And there's certain paintballs that work better with the magazine. And then you get into like, there's some stuff called like first strike rounds, which are almost basically like half paintball, half plastic shell. It's almost like a paintball like Sabo kind of. It was very, very unique. Alright, back to painting. What do I have left? Okay, the windshield wipers on the trucks, then the trucks are fully done. Nice. But, yeah, particularly in this state, you have to buy the paint that's okay for the environment too, you know? Like it's environmentally friendly, which I'm okay with, because in Florida there's plenty of places to play, so you can go out in these like subtropical jungles we have here. Just go absolutely ape shit with paintball guns. A lot of fun. I think, me personally, with my mental health, I think it helped me do a healthy transition from full-time military to guard to civilian. You know? Because I got to like go out there and do like some mag-fed paintball stuff. Good way of taking out that aggression and stuff like that, you know? One of my favorite memories is we did a charity game once. We did MagFed Florida versus MagFed Georgia. We met up in Georgia, and it was a charity game, so we all paid like a pretty high entry fee. We paid extra for the paint, and we all brought gifts, right? And it all went to a local orphanage. All the gifts did, right? Which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a Toys for Tots kind of thing, you know? But the cool thing was they just opened a map, and the map was a pure one-for-one recreation of Nuketown from Call of Duty. We played legit on a Nuketown map, and it was supposed to be a holiday thing, you know. So we're all having a lot of fun with it. A lot of people dressed up like Santa Claus. All the things we had to pick up, set of flags. We had to pick up presents, you know, and run around. So I ended up trying to go like full cosplay, you know. So I showed up in a Fallout costume. In our MagFed paintball rules, you're also allowed to use a shield. You could use a ballistic shield and a paintball pistol, you know. So I showed up with a fake, it wasn't bulletproof, just plastic. So I showed up with a plastic shield that I like spray painted RPD on and put like bloody handprints on. I was wearing a Fallout costume from like the super cheap like Party City, not Party City, what's it called? Spirit Halloween, right? That's a spoiler. It's a thin fucking costume, right? And a mask. And I have a pistol, so I'm out there with just like one pistol, trying to like load my pistol mags, and I have like a shield. That costume is so thin, and some of those guys had first strike rounds with their rifles. Yeah, those broke the skin. I was literally bleeding. There was like purple because you could see where the orange paint hit me, and then you can see like these purple splotches on my vault suit. That was where the blood was mixing with the the blue costume and turning it purple. That shit hurts so bad. I think I took one in my hip and I just fucking lost it. I was like, nope, I'm down, I'm out. No one questioned whether I cheated that day or not. As soon as I got hit, you heard it. I like yelped like a cat from across the room, like, ah, son of a bitch. I think I was running and someone sprayed my feet just below my shield, and so it like worked its way from like my shin all the way up to my knee and thigh. Oh god. I just dropped and laid down for a while. We'll do, Bad Rabbit. I'll see if I can find pictures of that, man. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, MagFit paintball, like I said, it can be fun. I highly recommend it, especially if you've never done like Force on Force training. You know, if you're just like I guess it's more for my Yanks and my fellow treasonous rowdy colonists. If you have home defense but you've never really fired a weapon in anger before, MagFit paintball is kind of a good adrenaline fix, because you can build a mock-up of a house pretty easy with some, when you go out into the woods with some rope and some tarps, and you can basically do a glass house, you know, do a house layout, you know, take out some furniture, some cheap furniture, and you can simulate some like home defense runs. You can see what it actually feels like. Yeah, CB Cooper, and here in Florida, like, I can't. I'm sure every state has. I can't say Florida's the best, but every state has good terrain for, you know, paintball. But here in Florida, in these jungles, man, it is intense. It is a lot of fun. I mean, it is some dense cover and concealment. So it's good training, you know, because you're also training with MagFit paintball how to operate in your local area, you know, how to move and fight in the jungle. This is a lot of fun. A lot of people don't understand. Florida, Central and South Florida, especially Central, has jungles. These are subtropical, legit jungles. Alright, cleaning up the trucks, and I can move on to the troops. Yeah, you also learn real quick what camo pattern works real well. So if you haven't skunk ape. If you haven't been down here to like the subtropical jungles of Central and South Florida, ironically, with the exception of the only thing is the black. The black's not that good. But traditional like M81 woodland camo is one of the best camouflages for the subtropical jungles here. If you have the money, it's because they're expensive. At least they used to be. I think they're cheaper now. Back in the day, they used to be crazy expensive. But Cryptic Mandrake. Mandrake is one of the better jungle camouflages, in my opinion, you know, from what I know. The problem with tiger stripes is the black. If you can get a tiger stripe without the black, it's great. But Cryptic Mandrake is phenomenal. If you haven't seen what it looks like, it almost has like a hex snake scale style pattern to it, and they make it for every type of biome, mostly for the continental U.S. They even make it for the water. I think that's just for jokes for fishermen, you know. But they even make like an urban style, stuff like that. But Cryptic Mandrake, Google it. It's phenomenal for out here. They make a real... So there's this one company out there. They make a... it's called Bull Gator. Bull Gator makes a gator camouflage, and it's good. I've only like seen pictures. I haven't seen it in real life, but it's pretty good. So it's basically it emulates gator skin, but on each one of the parts of the skin, it's kind of like a subdued style camouflage. It's actually really good. Swamp donkeys. Oh, Commander, you do HEMA? That's awesome. Yeah, CAD pad is not bad. I've actually been trying to look and try and figure out, like, just my own, like, just for my own reasoning, you know, don't look too far into it, Squig Hunter Sean. But I'm trying to find what would be the best beach camouflage. I'm thinking, honestly, I think the Marines might have nailed it with with what the Marines had in the Pacific. You know, that might be one of the better ones. But Naval Riverine or Special Operations, I think it's called like NWU-1. That camo's actually pretty good, but I'm just not a fan of digital stuff. The Marine Corps digital uniform, they're green, they're jungle, a little too dark. Okay, so Cambodian Army fatigue, yeah, tiger stripes without the black, yep. Because black is not a naturally occurring character, or not a natural occurring color in nature, so that's why when you're doing camouflage, black doesn't really help very much. Unless you're going all blacked out, you know, that's totally different. Rhodesian brushstroke might actually be a pretty decent, like, beach to jungle style camouflage, maybe. So yeah, tropical multicam is almost a little too green and dark. I know it sounds weird. Honestly, one of the best ones is regular woodland camo. Woodland camo was so good. But for the actual jungle, I said jungle. I highly, depending which jungle you had, there's different types of jungle. You know, different types of stuff like that. Like I said, we have subtropical, so we still have a lot of. We have open space, we have low palms and high trees, and, you know, every now and then we'll get different types of grass too. So for what we have here, mandrake is, I'm telling you, ideal for Florida. Multicam is good in a lot of places, but I can tell you this, multicam is not good here in Florida. It's too green year round here. Multicam is not the best thing, surprisingly. I know this because when we did a lot of our pre-deployment training, where I was on the instructor and Op 4 side, and we went up against the Blue Force. The Blue Force all had multicam. When they went into the tree line, stuck out like sore thumbs. Multicam doesn't work very well here in Florida. It works great in Afghanistan. It works great. It works very good in Texas and other places. Multicam is great. But multicam is not that good here in Florida. Yeah, the old school M81 surprisingly works really well. I think my go-to bad guy uniform for here in Florida, I wore so a lot of people are gonna freak out. It's gonna sound okay. Fun fact. Jungle tip for all you cool kids out there. If you didn't know, feel free to make fun of me, but let me finish here. So for my pants, I wore green denim. I wore carpenter jeans, right? Carpenter jeans are great because you have like that loop and a bunch of pockets. Now the trick out here, particularly in Florida or in other places, where there's leeches out here, leeches, mosquitoes, ticks, all sorts of fucking bugs, right? If you can get them, wear stockings. I know, I can hear you already saying it. Feel free to laugh, but wear stockings underneath your blue jeans, and that cuts down on a lot of the critters kind of getting in and biting you and shit like that. So, particularly because we're crossing streams and shit like that. So I wore, you know, stockings underneath green carpenter jeans. For a shirt, I had a Cryptic Mandrake long sleeve t-shirt. I had a real thin, what do you call this? Schmog that I like painted green. I did my own paint on. And I just wore like a regular, usually a Mandrake hat or just OD green hat. And for a chest gear, I wore an old school Chinese Marine AK chest rig. No, nothing about Finboy. Nah, if you look it up, there's a lot of context for it. It's an old old jungle trick. Trust me, it keeps out a lot of the critters. Especially the mosquitoes. Because yeah, see, thank you, Commander. Yeah, what mosquitoes can get through the denim can't get through the stockings. So it helps a shit ton. But yeah, green carpenter jeans and Mandrake shirt and like a green AK chest rig, man. That was the best thing. Super light. That should blend in real well. I think I probably have a couple pictures of that shit. Yeah, you've got all sorts of cool tactical advice, you know, wearing Converse Chuck Taylors with your dive fins, wearing stockings under your jeans. Yeah, these are some old school stuff. That's why one thing I never understood, because again, I grew up in like the Galveston area of Texas. I grew up camping and hiking, right? So one thing I never understood when I got into the military is why. Granted, I went to the Air Force, but everyone like would roll and blouse their pants for like their like field uniform. You know, I'm like, what are you doing? Because for in our uniform guide, you're allowed to either blouse your pants or tuck your pants into your boots. I was like, yeah, you clearly tuck your pants into your boots so you don't get rocks and bugs and all sorts of nasty shit in your fucking boots. You know, people are like, oh no, you gotta like blouse it and let it hang over your boot. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? I was like, tuck your pants into your boot. Are you retarded? But then I learned when I taught at a pre-deployment center, you know, here in Florida, I learned that a lot of these kids never went outside. I was talking no idea how to use a map. I remember one kid told us he was really good at map and compass, and I swear to God, the first thing he did when we took him out into the forest or out into the woods, this kid was leaning over this old rusted army 5-ton truck that was just left out in the middle of nowhere, right? This kid is leaning over the hood of this 5-ton truck with the map spread out with his compass over the hood and engine of an old 5-ton truck. And I was like, that guy's a future second lieutenant right there. For those of you who don't get the joke, you don't want to use a magnetic compass around, you know, ferrous metal. Yeah, yeah. You can only imagine, like, sit there, I'm like, ooh, man, he's gonna be so far off. The best thing is you don't say anything, because you're just an observer, so you just follow them around till they get lost. Good times, man. Good times. Actually, if you guys have ever seen Mad Max Fury Road, the web gear, or whatever you want to call it, web gear, salt gear, chest rig, whatever term you want to use, the web gear that Mad Max uses in Fury Road is actually a really good one, and I want to say that's SADF, that's South African Defense Force web gear, but it's real well laid out. But I'm actually partial to Chinese marine chest rigs because they're waxed canvas, so they're a little bit more water resistant, and they have drainage holes on them. They have wooden toggle switches on them. Yeah, they're real well done. You can still find them for pretty cheap. Damn it, I keep forgetting to paint the windshield wipers. It's actually one of my favorite knives. I'm not gonna show it on stream because I don't want to. I'm pretty sure you get like kicked off for that. But one of my favorite knives, probably the best fixed blade knife I have, is a Polish AK bayonet. I say Polish. It was given to me by a Polish MP, but it's an AK bayonet. Pretty sure, like, I don't know much about Soviet Bloc spawners. I'm pretty sure it's probably a Romanian one, but yeah, that's a damn good fixed blade knife right there. AK-47 bayonet. It works with the scabbard as like a wire cutter. It's got like a little safe sleeve to grab it from in case it's electrical too. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned pig sticker. So in tech school, which is like RA school or AIT, we get a little bit of bayonet training. Security Forces does, and but we never get issued one. Then when we deployed, part of our deployment kit was those M9 bayonets. So if you're an American service member or veteran, and you know bayonets, the M9, in my opinion, I don't know, I'm just a random just one, you know, the M9's trash. Not the pistol, the bayonet. So the M9 bayonet, they tried to do too much with it, in my opinion. They try to make it super Gucci and all this badass stuff, but it's not a full tang, right? So those things snap all the time, and it sounds like nothing, but when it snaps, like for us, if we're jumping off the back of a truck, or if we like roll out of a car and it snaps, you generally carry it around on your belt sometimes. So you carry it around your legs. If that snaps, there's a chance that blade could go into your fucking leg, right? None of us like those, so we all swapped our M9s for the old school M7 bayonets. We took those with us. And we got them because the Air Force still carries them only for training purposes. And you don't want a sharpened bayonet that defeats the whole purpose of a bayonet. So we swapped the M9. The M9 bayonet we're supposed to have for the M7s. We just signed them out of our LRS squadron and left them with the M9s because it just says bayonet. And to be fair, an LRS supply nerd doesn't know the difference between an M7 and M9s. We're like, yep, here you go. Here's the bayonets. Like, we need them for bayonet training. So we signed them out for bayonet training. We kept the M7s and gave them our M9s. Then when we came back, you know, we're like, hey, we're going to teach, you know, everybody bayonet training. Signed back out the bayonets and swapped them back. That way the serial numbers would match. Oof, yeah, that's a long-ass bayonet. But no, once my Polish MP buddy that I served with gave me an AK bayonet, that became my favorite. That thing is an awesome bayonet. I used to get a lot of shit because knives weren't like issued technically like during regular duty. You're allowed to carry one, especially in our career field, and a lot of guys carried like what you could get from like the tactical shop on base, you know, from like the BX or PX. A lot of guys had those super tactical ones. I don't know. I was lower enlisted, so you don't make a lot of money in the military, but you also don't pay for a lot, if that makes sense. So you can live within your means and be comfortable. But you know, I'd spent my money on hobbies, and one of my hobbies at the time was swimming and diving and stuff like that, because I was in Turkey and then Italy, right? Spoiler alert: Italy's a great place to buy dive equipment and learn how to dive. So, anyways, I spent a lot of money on a good dive knife, like a really nice dive knife, and I made sure not to get the blunt one. Like I had one blunt one for actual like underwater work, because they're great for like prying shit open too, and so you don't poke a hole in your life raft. But they also make regular sharp ones too, like a regular one. So for the longest time, I caught so much shit because I carried a dive knife on my gear, you know, for work. And I was like, "Oh, do you think you're a Navy SEAL?" I was like, "No, I spent all this money on a dive knife for swimming and diving. I'm just gonna use it for work too. You know, like why am I gonna buy 2 knives? It's fucking dumb." I used to get a lot of shit for that too. I was like, look, man, I was like, it's a full tang knife with a retention system and it's sharp as fuck. Like, what do you want? It's a very functional knife. So the Air Force isn't as bad as that. And funny story, when I finally out-processed the active duty Air Force, I went to the Guard. I don't know. I got in several verbal altercations with the guy running that thing, that civilian, and I ended up winning. I was able to fully out-process, and then they found out that they tried to attach some other stuff to me that was missing, like gas masks and helmets. And I was like, absolutely not. I have a paperwork saying I have no outstanding gear. And so they literally tracked me down to my Guard unit and came after my supervisor to try and get me to turn in some helmets and like a gas mask. And he's like, are you gonna do anything about that? I was like, fuck no. I was like, they got no paperwork on me. He's like, well, they're saying, you know, that you have an outstanding, you know, you have multiple, like you have a helmet outstanding and a gas mask outstanding. I was like, that's full of shit. I was like, I turned everything in. I was like, I have my clean sheet right here. I was able to out-process active duty. I have nothing of theirs from that base. And I kept using those terms. He's like, are you sure? I was like, I'm positive. Because I told him, I was like, here's how I know they're full of shit, sir. I was like, do they have the serial number? Do they have my signature next to the serial number of the item that's missing? He's like, no. And I was like, then yeah, they're full of shit. They're missing stuff and they're going to come after me. Oh, fuck that. So what's funny is about 2 years down the line, some of our guys are deploying. And before they get deployed for our career field, they have to go to pre-deployment training. Pre-deployment training is held over in like El Paso, right? And one of the requirements, because they haven't changed it yet, they haven't updated it, is you had to be certified in driving a Humvee. The problem with that is this is one of those like weird fall in the crack things. The military was transitioning away from Humvees at the time, so not a lot of people were certified in how to drive Humvees because no one really drove Humvees anymore. You think you drive them downrange, but you don't. You drive either MRAPs or fucking, you know, trucks. No one drives Humvees. So I was trained on Humvees. And so I got vehicle trainer certified. And so I needed to train a whole bunch of my guys on how to drive a Humvee before they went to training. So so I knew where a bunch of Humvees were, and they were on MacDill. So instead of bringing the Humvees to its separate base, I was like, why don't we just bring all the kids to MacDill, you know, and I'll teach them how to, I was like, we'll go out in the jungle, you know, I already know a good driving course out there, and I'll teach them how to drive a Humvee, how to pull, you know, how to fully operate a Humvee, how to drive it, preventive maintenance check, you know, also how to use a tow strap, and we'll do some tactic stuff. So I was like, he's like, what do you need us to bring? I was like, you just get a bus, bring a whole bunch of kids in their uniform, have them bring extra water, you know, make sure they bring all their safety equipment, and make sure they bring, you know, like rubber duckies, like red guns or blue guns, right? So the fun thing is when you're operating a Humvee, you have to wear a helmet in the Air Force for good reason. There's a lot of sharp metal objects in the Humvee and shit goes flying, so nobody was issued any helmets. I was like, oh no, cool, I got this. I'll never forget, my supervisor shows up, and I open up the door to my Jeep, and I was like, oh yeah, here are the helmets. And I had some tape, so I started putting tape on the back of the helmets and numbering the helmets. He's like, how many helmets do you have? I was like, what are you, the FBI? I was like, I have like 6 helmets. It's like, how do you have 6 helmets? It's like, I don't know, they never asked for them back. He's like, didn't they specifically ask you to give your helmet back? I'm like, no, that was a separate helmet, and I did give that one back because it had a serial number. It's like, none of these have serial numbers. He's like, what is wrong with you? I was like, this is my overtime. It's like all the time that because I worked for NATO a long time. There's a lot of NATO gear that was getting DRMO'd that was just getting rid of and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh well, there's no serial number on it, no one wants it. So I'm like, I'll just collect it. $8.20, you Gucci badass, you. Look at you. But yeah, die knives were nice. But yeah, once you got processed, yeah, it's on them. And if they don't have the actual serious number or the NSM on it, fuck them. They're like, do you have proof? No, fuck off. And then sure shit, we show up. He's like, how do you have all these helmets? Like, aren't you glad I have these? He's like, weren't they yelling at you about a helmet? I was like, no, that's a separate thing. I turned that one in. Like, same thing. I think early on in my career, one time I was out on post and somebody had their NVG kit. These are like PVS 7 Deltas in a green bag, and they drop it and they broke it, right? So the whole thing had to be, written up and discarded. But when he dropped the bag, all the contents went loose. One of the contents that went loose was the Piccaninny rail mount for the NVGs, an NVG mount for your weapon system, right? So you could like transfer the NVG and it didn't even work for the 7 Deltas. It's only for the PVS 14. So I don't know why he had in the 7 Delta bag, but 7 Deltas are night vision goggles where the 14 was like a monocular, like a single tube, right? So I picked that up and I just stowed it at my gear. And sure as shit, for the whole rest of my career, I always had a one of the coveted NVG mounts for your weapon system. It would go on the top rail. You could actually mount your PVS 14, your nods right in front of your M68 close combat optic. And that was if I wasn't a driver, if you're a driver, you need to have your nods on your helmet, or a gunner, you need to have your nods on your helmet. But if you weren't, if you're like a team leader or something else, yeah, if I could put your nods on your rifle, why not? So I had that my whole career. I'm talking from like my first base in 2010 all the way till I was in Afghanistan. I was like one of the only guys who had it mounted on their rifle. Like, where the hell did you get a rifle mount? Like, they even make those anymore? I was like, probably not. I took this from a kit like 5 years ago. Yeah. Oh, if it doesn't have a serial number, hold on to gear. You never know when it's going to come in handy. Like, I think one of my favorite things was, oh god, speaking of NATO, so we had to work with the British military police, the guys who wear like those red caps. I don't know what y'all's proper term is for them, but we were on a base, and we were on Lincoln Heath. And one of the weird rules, as soon as we got there, we had pistols. Like, hey, all pistols have to have a pistol lanyard. We're like, what? Apparently that's still a fucking thing. I was like, okay, that's odd, but whatever. You get all sorts of weird local NATO laws, right? So we started getting like 550 cord and just like tying extra 550 cord from like our belts to our pistols. And they like lose their mind, like, no, you have to get a legit lanyard. So he took us to the store and they made us buy this shit. I mean, to be fair, it was expensive, but I still have this item to this day. It's very well made, and I used it my whole career. So it snaps to one of your belt loops and through your belt, right? And it's almost like it's kind of like a bungee cord, if that makes sense. But it's kind of like man, what is that like? Not really a bungee cord, but kind of like have you ever seen like, if you ever been to a water park and you get those like keys for the locker, like those little orange keys that have like that little like springy kind of thing to it? That's kind of what the material's made out of, right? And then it comes down to like a little metal clasp that you clasp through the lanyard loop at the bottom of your M9 Beretta pistol, right? So we had to wear those the whole time we were working with the British and NATO and Lincoln Heath. And as soon as we left, we don't wear that fucking trash because it gets caught on shit, right? There's a good reason behind it. You know, you drop your pistol, you can grab it again, right? But then I figured out a great use for that lanyard, for the pistol lanyard, because it has that little bunchiness to it. Is I figured out that was the best thing to put my handcuff keys on. So now I had one of my handcuffs keys that were attached to that little lanyard that I kept inside my, like, you know, front pocket. So anytime I was handcuffing somebody, if I just, you know, instead of digging around for my handcuff key and dropping it or all that other kind of stuff, you know, when no one's like sweating and stressed out and adrenaline's pumping and, you know, they're bleeding, you're bleeding, that whole thing, I just reach out of my pocket and pull out this like long ass pistol lanyard that had the keys dangling on the end. I would just lock the handcuffs and put it back in my pocket. Never used it for a pistol lanyard ever again, but I used it my whole career for handcuff keys. Yeah, I'm 100% the Penal Legion. Squigger and Sean can attest. Sometimes the most skilled convicts are generally inside your own military police. Like, there's E4 Mafia, and then there's E4 Mafia inside military police. It's a whole separate animal. It's like a gene stealer and a pure strain gene stealer. But at the same point in time, I wasn't a criminal. Like, there's some guys out there, I swear to God, some guys were taking ammo or like night vision goggles and trying to sell them online, which is stupid because that's a massive felony, and they're gonna track you down and you're gonna go to jail. You know, like, we're not doing this to be arms traffickers. It's just our career field. So the career field of security forces inside the Air Force, with it being like the law enforcement and security specialists, they don't get a lot of funding because all the funding goes towards, you know, high-speed aircraft, a bunch of other stuff. So very little funding goes towards security forces. And so, kind of like how the Marine Corps gets very little funding from the Navy. So same thing in security forces, you have to learn to improvise in the field and hold on to shit. You're generally not ever going to get supplied. So any supplies you do get, you kind of make last. No. And thank God I didn't go to... So I went to SRT at Fort Leonard, but I did not have to go to CPEC. Thank God. So I was really, really good as far as like target identification. Like, with my being a weird military nerd, like I could spot the difference between like a BTR 60 and a BRDM 1 when like half of it was hidden behind a bush at like a kilometer, right? Like, I'm really good at target identification. So I always got put on DM teams. Or we call them trigger teams, Sean, but luckily, thank God, I was not that good with a rifle. And it's because halfway through my career, I figured out that I'm left-eye dominant, but right-handed. So I was like, oh, well, shit, let me just shoot left-handed, and that helped a shit ton. But up until then, shooting a rifle was hard. Great with a pistol, and that's why when I went SRT or EST, I was a point man with a shield, because I was just shit with a rifle. I never failed, but, you know, I made marksman like once. But no, I never had to go to CPEC training. Thank God. Yeah, Stevie Cooper, you just joined for one model painting stream and you just got like basically an old school edition of Soldier of Fortune magazine. You know, all these like little intro tips. Swear to God, the FBI is gonna like beat down my door. They're like, hey, are you training people online? Like, oh shit. But no, Squig and Sean was talking about what we call dummy courting. Dummy courting is a real thing. It's when you don't want to lose something if it's like a high value item and you can't lose it. So you basically take a piece of 550 cord, you tie it to your vest or gear, and you tie it to whatever the item is, be it like binoculars, night vision goggles, daggers, not the stabby kind, but like the navigation GPS device. Yeah, so I'm left eye dominant, but right-handed. So it took me a while to figure out how to shoot like that, but there's an advantage to it. A very small advantage where most of the time it's just a pain in the ass. You have to learn how to shoot rifles left-handed, which you should probably learn anyways, right? But so I had to learn how to shoot M4s left-handed. Shooting a 249 always sucked because either I can't hit shit shooting over right shoulder, I put it on my left shoulder, and I'm just eating fucking gas all day long in my face, and I can't see shit. 240 is great because he checks out the bottom. That's why I love 240s, right? So with being right-handed but left-eye dominant, the cool thing is all my everywhere I went, I was always told your gear's wrong, fix your gear, which I understand why, and I'll alliterate here in a minute. So my rifle was always left-handed, right? So therefore, since I'm shooting the rifle left-handed, all my magazine pouches for my rifle are on the right side of my plate carrier. However, my holster is still on my right side because I am still right-handed, just left-eye dominant. So a lot of people would see that. They'd see my pistol on my right-hand side and see my ammo pouches for my rifle on my right-hand side, like, hey, fix your shit's wrong. But the one time it comes in handy, like literally the only time in life it ever comes handy, is during like transition drills, or if I ever had a transition in real life. So when you have your rifle up and let's say, you know, stoppage, malfunction, what have you, squeeze trigger, it doesn't go boom, you know, immediate action. To me, immediate action when you're dual armed is called the New York City reload. You don't sit there and fuck around with your rifle. No, as soon as your rifle goes down, you're dual armed, you transition to the pistol, you know, then you get covered and then you work on your rifle. So we do transition drills on the range a lot. So you bring it up, fire twice, it goes click, and then you transition to your firearm. So everybody else who's right-handed, they're shooting the rifles right-handed. They have to like grab it, pull it to the side, and then pull their pistol and put their pistol out. It's a whole fucking thing. When you're a weirdo like me, you know, it's the one time it comes in handy. As soon as your rifle goes down, you just hold your rifle with your left hand, just draw your pistol with your right hand, and just instantly go. So transition drills were delicious. Absolutely love transition drills. No, like I said, and I barely passed qual for SRT, Squig Hunter Sean. It was what was getting me with, as far as like the rifle qual part of it, was getting the T-box shot. So we're doing Mozambique drills or failure stop drills, you know, 2 center mass and 1 in the T-box. For not getting my channel taken down, I'm not gonna describe what a T-box is, right? So I was working on the T-box, but the problem with the T-box shot, so we're using our M4s with the M68 close combat optics, and so you have to understand. It took a while for me to understand height over bore and how that worked, and how like red dot sights actually worked, especially in close range. It took a lot of training, but I finally got it off enough just to pass the class. I never forget the guy says, "I will never see you in CPEC training." I was like, "No, you won't." I was like, "Absolutely not." You know, I was a rock star in a lot of the other stuff. Especially rappelling, because I did a lot of rock climbing as a kid. But yeah, that almost got me washed out of SRT training in Fort Lindenwood, was not being able to clutch that last T-box shot. So see, there you go. There's another real story to show you that I'm not a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu. You know, I had my difficulties in the military. That part was tough. Oh yeah, that's something I used to harp on all the time, was New York City reloads constantly. You know, everyone's like, oh, immediate action is like taps, like only if you don't have 2 weapons. If you have 2 weapons, you transition quickly. You know, volume of fire is your cover and concealment. Yeah, I was never really a big fan of the M4. Nothing against it. I mean, it was a perfectly fine system, but By the time I learned how to use it correctly, like in my last couple years in, it was already too late. I'm like, ah, Jesus. Oh, yeah, fucks. Sorry to hear that, Squeak Hunter Sean. That's rough, man. Yeah, and practice your draw. Like, don't play quick draw McGraw on the gate shack, because you're just gonna get someone killed. There's been like 50 million stories of that shit happening. But so here's what I found out. Another tip for the military: if you ever go in, right? It only really works in the Air Force. In the Air Force, you get a small arms ribbon, right? If you score expert with a small arms, it could be an M16, A2, or an M9, or what the fuck weapons they use now, right? You get one ribbon. If you score on a second one, you get a little device on your ribbon. Then no matter how many times you score expert, nothing else changes, right? So, not that I care about ribbons, but in basic, I got expert on rifle, cool. And then when I hit tech school, I got expert on pistol, okay, cool, now I get a device. And then with the close, I was actually worse with the close combat optic than I was with iron sights, but, I passed, but I didn't get expert, and they kind of gave me shit for it. I was like, can you get expert 3 times? Like, well, it doesn't do anything. I was like, oh, well, fuck that then, because at least for the Air Force at the time, you very rarely got ammo. Like, getting ammo to qual was rare. Like, stateside, you can go shoot in your off-duty time, you're fine. But overseas, it's very hard to stay current on your weapons qual because you just don't get enough range time. You get very little range time. So the range time we did get, we would just practice all our other stuff. It doesn't matter if you get expert again. It doesn't fucking matter. So you're there just practicing all your training. So we practiced, instead of trying to make sure we get like our expert, we practice doing things like the Mozambique drill. Or, like double taps and stuff like that. No, I've never shot a Steyr. I've never shot a bullpup, but I've always wanted to. Particularly being a left-handed shooter, I've always had an interest in bullpups. I want to say somebody makes a downward ejecting bullpup, which would be perfect. But I'm not sure who. But that's also why I like my lever action shotgun and my lever action carbine, because I can shoot those left-handed and it kicks brass out the top, or kicks the holes out the top. So, but no, I never shot a Steyr. I've heard good things about Steyrs. I've always been very interested in bullpups, but never really shot them. Well, I mean, we did that too, Squig Hunter Sean. Anytime we had to rack and stack our troops, for like promotions or for like awards and stuff like that, most of the squadrons I was in did it right. They did your qualifications, what you got on your last like no notice 10% eval, or what you got when you went for QC for your job, whatever your job title is. They took your QC qualification score, they took your PT results, and they took your last firing data. And that's what we use to give people points for like promotion or airman of the quarter or whatever. So funny you say that. My paintball marker, I used I have a mag-fed adapter for a Tippmann 98 paintball marker, and the way the magazine sticks in, it looks just like an Owen gun. So I have like almost like a Thompson style front grip, and the 20 round paintball mag that sticks into the Thompson, the Tippmann 98, it actually sticks in at the same angle, the same location that an Owens gun would. So my paintball marker actually looks like an Owens gun. Yeah, that was the one weird claim to fame I had for Security Forces Quick Hunter Sean. I made it to E6 on my first marriage. I'm still in my first marriage, you know. But yeah, I was never divorced, and I technically I was never given an Article 15. So pretty impressive for making it up to E6, like 9 years in. I do like P90s. I've been a fan of the 5.7 round. I've shot it a couple times. The NATO has accepted the 5.7 round, in my humble opinion, as a now couch potato and no longer in the military. My idea for the utilization for the 5.7 millimeter would be for aircrew. I think it's an amazing aircrew weapon. Not just the 5.7 millimeter pistols, but also the P90s. Due to the high capacity, low bulk, and high ability to penetrate, thin metal. I think it's great for air crews. That's something you can fire out of a cockpit if need be, or something you can use if you're a downed air crew for survival and for self-defense. I think that's where 5.7 is really going to shine, is for air crew, surprisingly. I know it sounds weird for air crew to have their own systems, but especially because a lot of pilots, you don't need big buff jacked pilots, right? So you need the smallest and weakest people possible. So, particularly, a lot of helo pilots are female or just smaller males, so give them little 5.7 pistols, almost no recoil. And they have a lot of capacity. Like I said, some of the cooler training I got, especially in EST when I got back to home station, back from SRT Schoolhouse, was we learned how to use shotguns very effectively, like number 4 buck, especially number 4 buck over double aught buck, especially because we're with the Turkish. The Turkish taught us a lot of cool shit about shotguns. So that was a lot of fun. We learned how to like skip buckshot under cars and shit like that. Yeah, I learned a lot about pump shotguns from the Turks. Oh yeah, dude, I can't imagine going from 8/20th to a regular unit. Oh no, that's gonna be tough. I ran into a couple turf ninjas, stateside. Some turf tactical response force guys. Sorry to use the acronym. So some turf ninjas I met up with, and they were coming from, that side of the career field to like a regular, backwater base with law enforcement and regular flight line security. And yeah, they weren't having it, man. They went fucking crazy. We took them and we put them on EST and boat patrol as fast as we could. We gave them something. People like that, you gotta give them something. Otherwise, they will go crazy and they'll just start self-destructing. I was lucky because even though I was overseas, I did a lot of S2 work. And I had no law enforcement training, but when I came back stateside, where I was forced to, they threw me in a law enforcement squadron. Luckily, I had S2 training. So I'm like, oh, okay, I know some of this shit. Okay, cool, I'll be fine, But a lot of the guys were just pure security guys overseas. Or like I said, TRF ninjas, or like I said, 8/20th. When they hit a stock unit like that, there's nowhere for them to go. And then everyone's jealous of them because you're going to have those stories, you're going to have that gear, and everybody sees them, they resent you, and so they just naturally hone in on you because you have what they didn't, and they just pick you apart. So it's funny you mentioned that, Caboose. I heard stories of IDF armor guys carrying IMI Desert Eagles. Particularly, the reason why they did is particularly to help engage against motorized rifles of Arabic nations. So a lot of Arabic nations, because it's desert warfare, they use like BTRs, BTR 60s or BRDMs, these like thin skins, highly mobile, somewhat APCs, right? And so they issued them 50 cal Desert Eagles to try and punch through that armor, So I've heard that before, but I've never heard an armor guy. What I do know in Desert Storm is I know a lot of tankers, particularly I think the Sheridan guys, they still had grease guns. They still had M3A1s in their tanks for personal defense weapons for the tank crew. That was cool. So the grease gun went all the way into Desert Storm. That's pretty cool. And Sheridan's actually kicked ass in Desert Storm. They were the first tanks on scene because they were airborne. They could be airdropped. And they actually got several first-round kills versus T-72s. Pretty impressive. I mean, of course it helps they had the Shillelagh missiles, but... Now, I can't validate whether IDF tank commanders were armed with Desert Eagles. It's just a story I heard once. Like you guys know, I deal in stories. Sometimes they're true, sometimes I get what you get. But yeah, CV Cooper, along with all the advice or tips you got, don't forget. It sounds weird, but like nylon stockings or pantyhose underneath your blue jeans. If you're going deep into the brush, like where like tick country is, or like mosquitoes and stuff like that, or leeches. Best way to do it, man. Yeah, they got me, Squig Hunter Sean. Why I left active duty is before I deployed, because I had, again, I did a lot of camping and I worked with Sear a lot. And so one of my punishments was to do extra duty, and to make use of me, they threw me an S4 warehouse, right? Supply warehouse. So I worked with a unit deployment manager helping prep these boxes for deployments, like how to do like bear base and stuff like that. Like, hey, can you help us write up a bear base thing? I was like, oh, absolutely. You know, and I came from a maritime background of shipping, so I understand how HAZ docks work and shit like that, pallets and chalks, and I understand all this shit, right? I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I write it all up, and luckily I helped them out enough to where we're just bullshitting one day in the warehouse, and she's like, hey, we got a deployment coming up. And I was like, oh, I'd like to deploy. She's like, well, when did you last deploy? What's your dwell time? I was like, I don't know, like 5 years? She's like, no, seriously, when's the last time you deployed? I was like, I've never deployed. She's like, you want to deploy? I was like, if it's going somewhere cool, yeah. She's like, well, it's going somewhere with a B. So at that time, that meant either Balad or Bagram. I was like, oh, I'm down. So I got the deployment, which is awesome. I wasn't supposed to go on the deployment. My leadership was pissed. So when I came back, my punishment was I was going to become the new UDM, the new unit deployment manager. So the downside of being a unit deployment manager, besides writing a desk, is it's generally the last thing to ever get changed over. And you can never deploy again. Until you leave that position, which is very hard because no one wants that position, you cannot deploy. You are the UDM. So, if I came back active duty for my deployment, I was stuck never deploying ever again. I was like, oh, fuck that. So I did a program in the American military called Palace Front. Not Palace Chase, it's called Palace Front. It's where you go from active duty on your data separation, you roll right into the guard. Like, the next day. No break in service, like... You go from active to guard in like one day. So I did that and it got approved, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, no, computer. Yeah, you're right. So the actual cartridges themselves, like the actual rounds for the gun, were terrible, but the Shillelagh missile was decent. It was the rimless, it was the caseless rounds that like leaked powder everywhere. So if there's a fire, the whole thing just went up and blew up. But like I said, if that's why later in the 90s, the Sheridans, they just used the Shillelagh missiles. Like, look, if it's an anti-tank or a building, we'll use the Shillelagh. If it's anything else, we'll use the machine guns and the 50 cal up top. Like, fuck this, right? So that's what the Shillelaghs did. They were basically just... They end up using the Sheridans kind of like World War II tank hunters. Or tank destroyers, like TDs. So they would just use these Sheridans as like fast deployable airdropped tank destroyers. They had long range anti-tank guided missiles. They're 152 millimeter cannons, like you said. Those caseless rounds were shit and dangerous for the crew, so they just stopped using them. They literally just used the Shillelaghs. Yeah, so, you know, the the Iraqi army never really saw what was coming because they're getting hit from the sky left and right, and before we could even get Abrams like on station, because they had to be trucked in. Abrams are fast, but they guzzle a lot of fuel, so they have to be trucked in, then dropped off, and then utilized, right? Because they consume a lot of fuel. So before we could even bring those in, you know, Sheridans were already on station, just launching ATGMs across that border, just absolutely murking tanks left and right. And you have to say, being a Sheridan crew in Desert Storm was terrifying because it's not a tank, it's an armored airborne reconnaissance vehicle. You're in aluminum. And the glaring weakness of the Sheridan was RPG-7s, any shoulder-fired anti-tank device. You know, so RPG-7 and on, plus landmines. And that's the one thing the Iraqi army had shit tons of, was RPG-7s. So you're basically going right into the enemy's teeth. Yep. They even used Sheridans in I always forget, Urgent Fury or Just Cause. I think it was Urgent Fury. I think they dropped a couple Sheridans, like 4 Sheridans in Urgent Fury. I think 2 were okay. 1 got damaged when it got dropped. 1 landed okay, and I think 2 landed in a swamp and sunk. I talk about this because if you guys didn't know, the M10 Booker light tank program just got canceled by the Army. Yeah, there wasn't enough tows for the Bradleys. Also, a lot of the Marine Corps, they gave a lot of the tow missiles to the Marine Corps for good reason. The Marine Corps had those tow-capable LAVs, you know, where instead of a Bushmaster cannon, they just had like a fucking 4-tube tow system. Yeah, Caboose, I would love to do like a modern day 28mm Cold War thing. You know, it could be everything from Fold the Gap to Afghanistan to, you know, Wolverine style Red Dawn here in the States. I mean, there's so many good things you could do with the whole Cold War. I did a lot of research about the Iraq-Iran war in the 80s and 70s. It was insane. Abrams are great. They're I said they're fast. They're very fast, but they cost a lot of fuel. So you have to have, in order to use an Abram effectively, you have to have good logistics. You can't just like patrol in an Abrams. You know, Abrams require a hell of a lot of logistics to. That's why they're a good American tank. I think any country operating an Abrams outside of the United States is going to have difficulty because it's a very logistic intense. Well, all tanks are logistically intensive, but in my opinion, Abrams are extremely intensive on logistics. But when they work, they're absolutely phenomenal, and you can support them. I'm not sure, Commander, but that reminds me. So crisps, as y'all call them, or chips. Some of my favorite chips from overseas that I actually really miss are ketchup flavored. Ketchup flavored chips are absolutely delicious. If you've never had them, it will change your life. Well, not just that. So it was also a logistics thing. A lot of the trucks and Humvees all ran off JP8 as well. So JP8, which is technically like, it's kind of like jet fuel. It's like a jet fuel. I'm not a POL guy, petroleum, oil, and lubricant kind of thing. So take what I say with a grain of salt. It's probably someone who knows better than me, but a lot of things in the military were made to run off JP8. So our trucks, our Humvees, our generators, our like light-alls, some of our aircraft tanks, a lot of stuff could run off that type of fuel, which made logistics a lot easier. Well, and I'm surprised why the Army just doesn't purchase the exact same amphibious craft that the Marine Corps is going to use. I mean, you could take one of those and could configure that into a quote-unquote light tank, and it would still be lighter than the... So that was the problem with the M10. The M10 just got super heavy again. Nice. Finished Jeep. Thompson, fit the cow, it's good to go. So to mark my command Jeep, I just took off his windshield. Simple. Oh, the FAL, man. That was a fucking rifle. I fired an FAL once. I fucking love that thing. Funny, so, you know, you can report this to BAFTA if you'd like. I technically don't own a rifle. I have several firearms that I legally own, but not a single rifle. I have carbines, pistol caliber carbines, but I've yet to buy a rifle. I don't really hunt anymore, so I don't know. I plan on picking up a rifle. I still don't know what I want. The one rifle I want, like I said, it's super cool, but that's the problem. It's super cool, so it's made here locally by Kel-Tec, and anyone who knows Kel-Tec is the epitome of Florida man, but with gun manufacturing. They make cool shit, they make wild shit. Sometimes you're like, why would you ever make this? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You never fucking know. There's almost no quality control. Nothing against these guys, they're cool guys. But you never know what you're gonna get with Kel-Tec. But they make a nice 7.62 millimeter bullpup rifle that has downward ejection. That would be really cool. So the reason why I don't own a bolt action rifle, I have to shoot it left-handed, and I make a lot of left-handed bolt actions. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I think I own do I own a Kel-Tec thing? I think I do. Yeah, I can't show my firearms here. I mean, I wish I could. Oh, that's right, I don't even show my face. I have like a whole like stream thing set up, but I don't even show it. All you guys just see is like my model side table. Like I have like flags and lights and all sorts of stuff up. I have a few like World War II era firearms, I guess. I have a PPS 43 civilian variant, like a 9mm. That'd be cool, but no, I recently swapped because my job's changed so much. I no longer do what I used to do. So now that my job's changed and the things I do in life have changed, I've changed my concealed carry firearm just to match my new lifestyle. So I've been putting a lot of rounds to that thing, trying to get it seasoned and trying to get me used to using it. Don't shine, cause I'll get one. I know I need one. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I've for concealed carry, I've moved on to the centimeter life. I've been a revolver guy for years and years and years and years. And I've just now made the swap over to a 10mm. That being said, I still think one of the best things for here in Florida, what I've loved, is Smith & Wesson 638 Airweight. So it's a snub-nosed revolver. It's all stainless steel, aircraft grade aluminum. Chambers 38 special plus P. And the best thing is it's not an eternal hammer, but it's not an exposed hammer. It's a shrouded hammer. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And it's light enough you could carry that in a decent holster, like appendix carry, and board shorts and a t-shirt with flip-flops. It won't show, it won't print, and it won't sag your pants down either. You can get salt water on it, you can get sand on it, and it's stainless steel. That was my CCW for a long ass time, and I fucking loved it. Shooting it accurately was a bitch. I had to like paint on iron sights with like blue nail polish, right? That 1.78 inch barrel ain't much. You had like your MOA was like minute of bad guy. Anything past like 10 meters, all you're doing is just paying some lawyer's bill. It wasn't even fucking worth it. But no. Yeah, now I'm on that yeah, now I'm on that 10 mil life. And I like it. 10 mil's nice. I say I wouldn't recommend for everywhere. I think 10 mil works great if you're in a rural area, particularly that has like crazy wildlife, especially like Alaskans, you know. If you have anything from like anything on 4 legs that weighs more than 100 pounds, a 10 mil is pretty nice. So this could be, you know, bulls, hogs, for us, gators, black bears, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. It's nice to have a 10 mil. Hey, what's going on, Francois? But on the topic of acquiring military gear that did not have serial numbers on, I have a lot of cool stuff. Most of it's just like keepsakes from like old days. Like one of my favorites is I have my old riot control helmet, only because we used it so much they I guess the Seaburn unit or CE couldn't decon it enough. Like every time they issued out in training, like if I put it on, my eyes will actually still water from like residual CS, CN, and OC and stuff like that. Like it's bad. You can smell it in there. But they didn't like use it for training because people kept like freaking out and make their eyes already start to hurt and shit like that. So they're just gonna DRMO it. So I was like, I'll take that. So I even have my old school. I have my favorite helmet that lasts me a couple years, like my actual helmet, and I have my riot helmet on like 2 separate sides. Alright, the Jeeps are 100% done. That's nice. So are the trucks. So the trucks and Jeeps are 100% done. Now all I gotta do is just knock out these infantry. The majority of them's already painted. Just gotta start doing the small stuff. Let's go flesh tones. Speaking of not finishing school, so we're going to try on our additional training, is they tried to hoodoo me to go into traffic investigator school. I don't know if I ever told you that story, because I was supposed to go to investigator school at Fort Leonard Wood. I was supposed to be attached. So I was going there for SRT anyway, so like, oh, I tried to like, oh, while I'm there, let me just slide into investigator spot, you know? That way, it's, you know, on DTS you only have to pay for one flight, and they're like, no, squadron policy is anyone who can be an investigator also has to be a traffic investigator. I heard enough stories about that class. It's a very small class. They only teach at one base in Lackland, and it has one of the highest washout rates of any security forces training class. And it's not from like being badass, you know, cool stuff. It's from just sheer fucking difficulty of like tracing and doing physics and traffic investigation. No, hard pass on that. I think I've met one person my whole career who passed that. Just like it wasn't until I was stationed, well, I stationed myself. I was stationed myself at Cape Canaveral, and then when I went up to Camp Blanding to help teach pre-deployment school, Camp Blanding is, a lot of people don't know, is like one of the big weather training centers for the Air Force. So there I actually found my first SAL-T. I had never, a SAL-T, or they're not called that anymore. I think they're called Reconnaissance Commandos now. Sounds cooler, but back in the day they were called SAL-T, Special Weather Operations Technician, I want to say. It's like a little deal. So the SAL-T had gray berets. They are super fucking rare. Because anyone smart enough to be a SAL-T generally wasn't physically fit enough to pass the Special Operations pipeline. Anyone in shape enough generally wasn't smart enough. And if they were both in shape and smart enough, they were usually an officer. So SAL-Ts were like unicorns. Yep. Yeah, SAL-Ts are called like reconnaissance commandos now, and they like lump some other stuff in, which is kind of cool. It tracks. It makes sense. It's cool. I actually ended up liking military law enforcement a little bit, Squick and Rashawn, only because, like me and other people, I got screwed over so many times that it felt cool to be there and be like the speed bump to prevent people from getting screwed over, you know? Like, to do it right made it worth it. I know it sounds super cheesy to say, but instead of being like that stereotypical douchebag, like military LE guy, to be like, hey, let's just keep this chill, you know? Like, let's not be weird. Yeah, the pewter gray beret, man, those are. I saw one in my active duty career, but he was he was a senior NCO and he had left SAL-T, so he was a prior SAL-T. He had the functions badge, but not the beret. So the first time I actually saw one with a beret was at Blanding. I was like, oh my god, the Great White Buffalo. Now, lately I noticed, particularly in our old career field, man, they're changing the names of a lot of stuff and trying to make it more cool than it is, and put like ridiculous like training requirements on it. Back in the day, during the GWAT, it was like, hey, could you physically do this? Or hey, are you capable of doing this job? Yes. Okay, cool. You're now this job. But now, like a good example is daggers. So daggers are used when an aircraft goes down. You just kind of move to the area, surround the crash site, and hold the crash site. It sounds complex sometimes. I mean, there's between doing it in a hostile country versus a neutral country versus a friendly country. It's the same shit, right? So it just used to be a duty. Now it's like this whole special fucking training thing, and you get a tab called like Air Commando. It's fucking weird, man. I feel like some people are just huffing their own farts. I feel, and again, here I am swapping stories with you guys, so I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite. But I feel like the silent professional or the quiet professional thing kind of went out the window. Man, I'm just telling you funny stories of being a straight leg Skitty Forces guy, you know? Let us check the poll. Ooh, still holding steady. God damn, aliens beat the hell out of Starship Troopers. Alright. Let's see how you guys are. Let me check Discord, see what you guys sent me. Oh, yeah. Your Pathfinder looks great. I love the grease gun on the Pathfinder, Bad Rabbit. I love it. Grease gun is my favorite. Oh, I want to shoot one so bad. Matthew, your Japanese guy looks cool. I really like his sword. That's actually really, really cool. Nice, well done, man. Yeah, but then it came full circle when we brought like kind of the more Air Force mentality to certain jobs. All right, go enjoy your nap, Squiggatron. Hey, thanks again for the orcs, man. And it's always good taking a trip down memory lane with you, buddy. Take it easy. Appreciate you joining the chat. There won't be one tomorrow, only because I'll be running around all day doing bolt action and meeting up with MG and shit. Yep, right now we're just doing a pass on the flesh tone. It's just hands and faces. Batch painting at its finest. Later, Sean. Yep, after we do skin tones and everything, then I'll go back, hit all the leather goods, then just the wooden goods, and then just the black part of the rifle, and then be done. Basing, of course, but... Yeah, finally getting to the spot on these where it's just going a little bit quicker. I've done the majority of works now, it's just like real quick, fast. speaking to, so I think earlier in the show we were talking about like older video games are pretty good. So I know some people played like War Game, you know, Dragon Right or Red Dragon, or it's called right here. I know Warno's coming out, and there's another one coming out that looks pretty good. That's true. That's true, Commander. It's hard to tell. But anyone ever remember playing World in Conflict? The expansion Soviet Assault. That's a good game with a damn good trailer. See if I can find the trailer. Yeah, if you've ever seen this trailer, it's absolutely awesome for World of Conflict. That was a damn good game. Speaking of Sheridans, I'm pretty sure that game had them, actually. As like your light tank. Another guy. Nice. Another one in the pile. Yeah, I think after the stream I'll take a nap for a little bit, wake up, do some more painting, go to work, do some more painting, go to sleep, and then it's bolt action time. Yeah, I'm glad I had enough BARs for all these guys. There's a shit ton of BAR gunners. Yeah. Skin tone, man. It's such a simple thing. But it really starts making the model pop. Like I said, striking that 3-color rule that I was talking about. Like whenever you look at a model, if you can see from the angle of you looking at it 3 separate colors, I think that's when the model starts to pop. I think it's going to be a fun bolt action list to play. A whole lot of transports. Zern's still doing his transport series. I'm excited. Next week, per him, he said it's going to be a gun truck. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be very similar to my Moto surf style. So I'm excited to hear how he kind of reviews that. Yeah, I think they're gonna get played here in like a day. They'll be riding around the streets of Berlin until they get killed. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be a high value target to get wiped off by the Germans. I'm worried the Germans are gonna be running a lot of 2cm AA guns, and they're just gonna obliterate these trucks. But we'll see. With the Hitler's buzzsaw rule, this machine gun there could be kind of rough. Because they're just fishing for sixes, so those extra dice are going to come in handy for them. Like I said, one of the cool things is show you our objective markers. Our objective markers are stop signs. So if we hold an objective, we'll put up a stop sign. I'm pretty excited to use those. Instead of like US flags or like little green army stars. Let me go ahead and close the poll here. And that was a brutal beatdown. Starship Troopers only got 33%. Rough. Aliens over Starship Troopers, huh? I'm just trying to get a few more of these models done. Oh, it's gonna be such a rush to get all these done, but I'm gonna be so excited to get turn-by-turn updates. Should be a big fun battle. Like I said, there'll be a lot of people playing. Fortunately, Irish won't be able to make it, which he's usually my go-to bolt action partner, which kind of makes me sad, but he's got prior commitments. But I think Arcade's gonna be there, which is nice. Yeah, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna throw it in Mordian's Discord and see what everybody else thinks. See if we can start some fire over there. All right, so I now traffic that over to MG's Discord and bothered their people with it. Let's see what they say tomorrow when I wake up. There's a really good Starship Troopers cartoon. It was called Roughnecks. It's very, the CGI on it can be a bit rough. And actually, the only bad thing about that show, like I said, it kind of is made with the quality of Reboot, you know? Not in a bad way, but, you know, it's about that style. But the one thing about that show that drives me crazy, makes the show hard to watch, is the gun sound effects. It just, because it was made for kids, and it was like it came out for, like, you know, during the cartoon block during the day. So the gun sound effects are just absolutely atrocious. But other than that, the cool thing, it's not broken into seasons, it's broken into campaigns. The show is a good mix between the movie and the book. And I actually have the books for the RPG for it as well. It was a tabletop RPG for a little while, but it's also an actual RPG, kind of like Dark Heresy. Yeah, I ended up picking up the books, I think maybe around 2011 or 2012, and they were still hard to find. But yeah, once I get this bolt action event knocked out and start working on some more armies, I'm excited to play a game of one-page rules. I really am. I really like the way the army list is working to build the models. I kind of like the way I've seen it played, like the turn list. Kind of liking that. I just feel like something's missing and I can't figure out what it is. Like, I watch it, I just feel like it's, I feel like it looks like a sugar-free dessert. Like, it looks like what's supposed to, it tastes like it's supposed to, but there's like this weird nagging feeling in the back of your head. I feel like that's my one hang up with one-page rules. I don't know, but I'm gonna try it first. That's my bazooka team hiding by a barrel. Morty. Yeah, so with the way my orc list is and the way 10th edition's played, nothing against Warhammer 40k. I know a lot of people like it. Like I said, I'm trying to the guys who want to do 4th edition games kind of falling through, so I'm like, now I'm stuck with a bunch of orc models, like son of a bitch. So I'm looking at one-page rules, and I kind of like the way it's laid out as far as like it's a points by army list system. You can really customize your models, which I really like. Like there's no named models. It's all just like character. It's all just like, sorry, there's no characters or named models. It's all just like regular models. Like, oh, that's awesome. And I like the way the turn order goes. You know, you move one unit at a time. That I'm a fan of. I'm not a fan of tabletop games where it's like you move all your models and I move all models. I just feel like it's kind of weird. It's one of the main things I like about bolt action is the turn order. So, plus my wife wants to start painting. Our Mrs. Tiki wants to start painting models with me, and she likes lizards and dinosaurs. And so, you know, I know the old world has lizardmen and stuff like that, but there's also like space lizardmen in one-page rules. I think it's like the Star Host Sarn or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna get her those models to paint. Yeah, I think MJ's gonna come back from his vacation refreshed and ready to start doing stuff again. Poor guy just seems like he was stressed out. I hope he had a good vacation. He desperately needed one. And now that he's had a little bit of rest and relaxation, I'm gonna go pester the shit out of him and go bother him tomorrow. Alright, they're the hands on the bazooka guy. Nice. Alright, not bad. God, I love batch painting. I mean, it sucks to do, and I'm sure it's not very exciting to watch, especially because I did all my painting off stream tonight. But I got a lot of work done. All my vehicles are done. Vehicles are fully done. I have the 2 primary colors on all my infantry models. I'm doing their skin tone right now. So, most of these guys are like 30% done, so I think I'm definitely gonna be able to knock it out by tomorrow. I'm excited. I was worried I wouldn't be able to get these things painted at all, but luckily the stream is awesome. You guys are awesome. I was able to get a shit ton of painting done. And we gotta chat about a whole bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, you can see it right here. So the final list ended up being 4 squads of riflemen. They're all veteran, tough, everything you can give them: tough fighter, anti-tank grenades, like full chock-a-block full SMGs and BARs. 2 officers, I think, with just SMGs. 1 bazooka team. You have 5 jeeps with heavy machine guns and 6 trucks with heavy machine guns. So this is gonna be a full. I'm literally gonna hit the tabletop tomorrow, like full-on GLA in 0 hour, coming out of Command & Conquer's General. I mean, this is gonna be just straight up motorized warfare, and I'm pretty excited. Running like their technicals. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll try and take pictures like of each turn, you know, and just post them on the YouTube page, like on the post where I put a lot of stuff. There's a hilarious move there if you haven't seen it. Square Hunter Sean and Whispering Monk made it of me fucking pestering Morty on his vacation. It's actually pretty good. Hey, I'm glad you like it, Commander. Like I said, I hopefully some people get a kick out of it. We talk about some pretty cool stuff, I think. I think we have a lot of fun. Glad I got a lot of these models done. I said I know it was a lot more boring because I just kept picking models up, putting them back down again, but I can't tell you how much I got caught up on, which is awesome. I really procrastinated on this army, but I'm glad I got it done, like JIT, right? But for those of you guys who were headed off to sleep, I hope you get some good sleep, truly. I hope you get no night terrors. For those of you guys headed off to work, like I will be here in a couple hours, I hope it's a great day at work. I hope if you go to the vending machines, not only does your candy bar or bag of chips not get hung up, but I hope you actually get double. This army really came along in 3 weeks. Yeah, it was planned out a lot further than that, and it should have been done like slowly over time, but no, I just last minute sheer teared this damn thing. Because I figured, I'm like, oh, it's not that many models, and I'm like, oh my god, these Jeeps are a lot more intensive. Because when you take a look at the Jeeps, man, they're a little bit more intensive than what I thought they'd be, because so much is exposed, you know? You actually have to paint the 2 troops. I like that I always do my fuel jerry cans red. But anyways, if you're going to sleep, hope you get the sleep you deserve. If you're going to work, have a great day at work. And as always, I hope you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, don't forget to relax today, because you're on Tiki time.
Shipwrecked soldiers on wooden sand, type A rifles in hand, hula gals with summer smiles, no war drums, just beach for miles. Ghost park by Tiki lights, shadows dance in tropic nights, sand beneath where boots once stood, paradise ain't so misunderstood. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of moons, forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands. Bunkers built from palm and hope, coconuts and crude soap, imperial dreams, fade and sun, warriors turn beach bums. Shine to ocean gods we raise, praying for forgotten days, sake in the campfire glow, life's a surfboard ebb and flow. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of moons, forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands.